everyone. Welcome to Amazing Plantz4mationz. We have a very special episode for you. As you know, here co-host of the Heart and Harmony. Already, some of you have seen him, but we haven't gotten to know him. Welcome to the show, Lee Jain of DayaLof. Is the name of his channel, and we're excited. We have all the links in the description, and we're going to talk about his channel, talk about his journey, just so you can get to know him. And welcome everyone who's here in the chat that I haven't seen yet. Welcome, Lee.
Oh, hey, thanks for having me. So yeah, I had to turn off my YouTube. I forgot I had that on in the background, so someone's probably got to hear you twice.
We're both running late here. I'm trying to straighten up everything. I've got like my cups all over the place and cat treats and trying to still get together, probably orange peels everywhere. You're running a little late joining, so thank you for those who are waiting. We'll try to cut that front part off where it was a lot of downtime. So thank you again. I remember the first time I saw you in the comments, you had made a couple of comments and were really supportive of the channel. And I'd seen you also, I think, through Kathy Hester. And I've just, you had a really interesting journey too. So I just wanted to say, what kind of led you down the path of compassion? Like, how did this all start? Did you learn about veganism? I know that your channel's kind of not only about that, but also about compassion for people. Like, kind of where did you generate interest?
Oh, yeah. Also, someone just said, hello, is this happening? Do you want me to make sure this is going out live?
Yeah, hi, can you hear us?
Yeah, real quick. I guess I could open my YouTube too real quick. Let me just mute it so you don't.
Let me just write to her.
Yeah, I'm seeing us live now, so.
Let me ask, can you hear us? Is that Susan and Myra? Susan Myra. Welcome, Susan Myra, if you can hear us. If not, maybe like reboot or like come out of YouTube and come back in. I've seen that happen from time to time. We were a little bit late getting started. Oh, she found us. Okay, awesome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we were late too, so I wasn't sure if that was you're seeing the numbers or was something going on. So yeah. I mean, compassion, I guess, has been the compassion aspect of it. I mean, all my life as far as that goes. I mean, I grew up Christian. I mean, I study Jainism now, but I'm still passionate about all religions. And I mean, in Christianity, in Jesus Christ, I mean, compassion is, I mean, the gospel as far as that goes. So, as far as that, I mean, it's a question like, how did I get into veganism, or how did I get to the channel, or like, I guess, what's the first question you're asking?
Let's go back to, because I assume like, since we're on the Vegan Knowledge channel, let's start there. That'll be a good starting point, and then we can kind of move into everything else. How did you learn about being vegan, or when did that happen?
I mean, learn about being vegan. I mean, one thing I would say the compassion, I would say somewhat I thought about it. I mean, I remember being in like, I grew up on a farm, always been connected to the animals and things like that. So that's always been very, a big part of me. I mean, I grew up spending a lot of time just hanging out with my cats and, reading stories to the pigs and things like that. I remember being in like, I'm going to say 4th grade, 5th grade, whenever they had, I want to say it was back then, was that the 4 food groups? It might have been a pyramid like that. But I remember seeing the 4 food groups, but I also remember seeing in the protein section, they had beans and nuts as their protein option. And back then, I don't know, I messed around with this pen. Back then, I remember thinking, I was like, oh, is there a way I can, like, not eat my friends and stuff like that? Granted, I grew up, I mean, Indiana, I guess I'll spring up. I grew up Indiana in the Midwest, as far as that. I was born 1979, so I'm a kid from the 80s. I'm 45 now. Holy crap, do I forget my age? Yeah, I'm 45 as far as that. Now, I'm not around the age, but
so younger than me.
It's kind of bad now when you're like, wait, let me do the math. Did I just turn 45 or 46? I just turned, what did I? 1979. How old am I? Am I 46?
I'm 47. I was born in 1977, so you must be 45. Unless my birthday's in January. I don't know if that makes sense.
Mine's in May.
Um,
Uh, the
oh, go ahead.
Do I eat onions and garlic? Try to avoid it a few times a week as far as that goes. I do eat onions and I do as far as that goes. Now in Jainism, in India, you usually don't, depending high up. It's not a lot of American Jains haven't hit it as far as that. And when I say American Jains, I'm probably like the one white Jain, but a lot of people here living in America from India lived here as far as that. So it's kind of like a way you want to go as far as onions and garlic. There's definitely I guess, and if you ever join my other channel, I'll get more deep into that as far as that goes. So I do, for a while, I did give it up. So, but it's not 100% like you have to give up. Jainism isn't like you always have to do exactly like a lot of people in the States, as far as that, kind of confuse a lot of what the monks and nuns follow compared to what the householders follow as far as that. But most Jains don't eat garlics and onions. But even at Jain Temple, like I kind of feel like the younger generations, they're eating it. Like there's so many people like when I was in Chicago at the temple, like I mean people from India, but they're always like, yeah, my mother, doesn't eat onions, or they'll give up onions and garlic as far as that. That's definitely a step in that direction as far as that. I for a while gave it up. I tried to like a couple weeks ago we just had our festival, Parsi. I fortunately I can't speak Hindi very well, but I gave up onion and garlic that whole week as far as that goes. And I do work on cooking to avoid it. So, but yeah, but I mean, yeah, the Jane thing, I guess I can get into a little bit more. There's Neo. What's going on? So,
He's
um,
taking his position, right?
yeah, yeah, Mookie's over there is dead asleep. He's been pretty lazy. So,
So we might not
what
get
was
an appearance from best friend Mookie, huh? He might wake up.
I depends. I think he's pretty comfortable. So, yeah, probably not. So, depending on how long we go, I see a lot.
Like, do you
We
want
were talking about my age, but yeah, let's see, I'm 45, whatever. But the four food groups. So when I saw that, I mean, this has always been kind of in my mind. I've always wanted to, not harm animals and stuff like that. I've always been close to it type thing. But also, I mean, it's not like I was raised in a small area. That's the reason I thought we were supposed to eat meat. I mean, everyone in the States, as far as that, pretty much everyone in every country, as far as that. Like, it always kills me how many people I meet that are like, I'm Puerto Rican, so meat's in my culture. I'm from here. I'm like, meat's in every culture. Like
yeah,
everybody thinks the news stories like, I'm from Italy, meat's in our culture. I'm from blah blah blah, meat's in our culture. I'm like, yeah, I pretty much, unless you're born different parts of like Africa that is vegan, or you're born Rastafari, or you're born Jain or Hindu that you're vegetarian, meat was probably in your culture. Like there's more
definitely was in
people with
mine.
meat not in their meat in their culture, and there's people not meat in their culture type thing. So as far as that, so that's why I always kind of that's a lot of times I bring up, oh, I brought up on a pig farm. Like it's not that big of a deal as far as that goes. Me going vegan, there's plenty of people that have done that, but I bring it up because a lot of people like to bring an excuse like I can never change just because I grew up around meat and stuff like that. I'm like, trust me, like a lot of people think I was like some city kid and grew up at hippies and stuff. I'm like, no, it's the complete opposite. So, but going there. So as far as I didn't know what the word vegan was back then. Of course, I wasn't even thinking about giving up dairy at that time. And then in my senior year, like when I graduated, my senior year, I mean, compassion was always big to me. The other day when I was talking about Martin Luther King Jr., he was a big person.
Our
I wrote a
birthday
lot
buddy.
about type thing. Yeah. I was big into poetry and things like that. Percy Shelley's one of my favorite poets, writers as far as that. I know if you're familiar with Percy Shelley, Mary Shelley, I assume, Frankenstein.
Oh, okay, yeah. I
Okay.
don't know. I'm
Her,
not very good with the names, but I'll have to
yeah,
send you some
Mary
of my
Shelley
poems.
did Frankenstein. Yeah, and Percy Shelley was her. I don't know if they officially got married, but they were together as far as that. As far as that, and actually, there was how Frankenstein came about. They were kind of like travelers and stuff that hang out old castles and stuff. But Percy Shelley was actually, I didn't know this in high school, and it's interesting how I didn't learn this until I got to Gandhi. He referenced Percy Shelley, but Percy Shelley was a vegan back in the day, as far as that goes. Other interesting thing. So there's always been like little things as far as that. And when I went to youth ministry my senior year, I grew up in a small town, kind of jumping around here. I go, there's a town called Lafayette, it's where Purdue University is. Well, during the nights and the weekends, I would go hang out there at Chauncey Hill and stuff. I made friends there as far as that because I grew up in a town of 2,000 people. My whole high school, middle school combined was like 400 people. I graduated with 70 people in my class, and that was like the biggest in history. And when I say 70 people in my class, that's two towns combined, three counties. This isn't like, I mean, that's like everyone's driving like, 15 miles around. Like we're talking small. We have an IGA in our town type thing. I mean, I grew up, we had tractor day. I was an FFA. I mean, as far as that goes. So for me, I always want to get out of the area. I've always been into religion, philosophy, movies, stuff like that. Like I never really fit into my home area as far as I had great friends, great family. Like I didn't have anything like that. But 5'4" guy, basketball is the biggest thing as far as that goes. So started hanging out in Lafayette, meeting friends that way. I met a dude named Derek the vegan, we called him as far as that goes. And he was and I was really big into my Christianity and stuff like that. And we would chat, I was drinking herbal tea at that stuff, and that people did drugs and stuff. I was actually straight edge at that time. I didn't even do caffeine. And there I chatted with him, and he was a vegan, and because his parents were professors, his sister was vegan, is like that, and he just talked to me about veganism, and I was interested in it. And he's like, hey, he's like, so I was like, well, and the first time how we got in the chat, he's like, Christianity's a cult. I'm like, well, no, that's not true. Like, as far as that, and I was like, well, hey, I'll talk to you. I'll give you some information. I'm trying to convert him to Christianity, but I was trying to show him, like, really, if you follow the gospel, it's about peace and love and stuff like that. So it's like, hey, you read that, I'll try being vegan. And I was interested in veganism once I learned about it anyway. So I wasn't like twisting my arm or anything of that sort.
Right.
That was, I'm gonna say 1997, 1998. Right around those times. So basically, actually, what we did a fast for 1 week straight, just water, and I did like vitamins at that time, and then I went vegan for a week just to try it out. And and that was very, very difficult because I didn't know what veganism. I mean, I knew what veganism was, but I was in a small town. I didn't cook for myself as far as that. So I basically was eating bread and pickle sandwiches the whole time and stuff like that. So that was my introduction to it. And I always kind of had my brain, like, I didn't go vegan at that time, but I was kind of like, I totally like respected it as far as that. I mean, I always thought being a vegetarian was cool and stuff like that, because like to me, I've always connected. So that was probably, like I said, the
Like your
vegetarian vegan thing like that. That was probably my true, like, learning the word vegan at that point as far as that goes. And then I graduated high school, spent a summer in Lafayette. I mean, literally the day after I graduated, we subleased an apartment in Lafayette. It's a town near us. Me and my best friend at the time, we're still good friends. I always say best friends, but I have so many best friends, like family member type thing. I mean, we walked to the railroad tracks and stuff like that, met up. I mean, I grew up, I had to ride my bike 3 miles to get to town as far as that. And then my friend, like, he was about 2 miles away from us. So we'd meet halfway, but we went to Lafayette, spent 3 months there. And then we I went to Huntington College, and then they went to Fort Wayne, and they went for computer. I actually went to this college for a year to be a youth minister. I was going to be youth ministry and stuff like that. Really got, really, it was very difficult going to a Christian college as far as that, because with me, Christianity is very different. I grew up Methodist, and even though that doesn't mean a lot, the Methodist church I grew up with my one minister was really cool. My female minister was cool. We were pro LGBT. I mean, it was just gay back then. We were like, pro other religions, female minister, very, really, I mean, pretty much a lot of my beliefs have not changed as far as that goes. Like, fifth grader Ryan would be pretty cool for 45-year-old Ryan. I mean, even Ryan, hardcore Christian, was pretty much left wing, was progressive as far as that. Women's rights, gay rights, to me, that actually was Christianity. So when I didn't realize until I went to Christian college that, oh my gosh, like all these, like, all this hateful stuff as far as that, like that. So I was like raised that. So the only thing that really changed for me was, I was anti-abortion back then, because, they taught you abortion was, oh, the baby was actually being killed, hurt, stuff like that, as far as that. Now it's like, oh no, obviously I'm pro-life, not pro-life, pro-abortion, pro-choice as far as that goes, And the reality is, if the bull crap they said was true, I think we'd all be anti. Like, being vegans, like, oh yeah, if the kids were actually had consciousness, they had a soul, that'd be horrible. That's not true at all, type, as far as that, like, honestly, I think it might sound horrible, but like killing a spider, I think, is way worse than, doing an abortion within. As far as that, there's more consciousness in life to that, as far as that goes. So that's the only thing I would say I change. And the main reason I change is just lack of knowledge as far as that thing, as far as that. Once again, I was always trying to figure out what's the most. And they also told you this bull crap, like, oh, you can't get pregnant if you're, dramatic or raped and stuff. They like just so much bull crap. So like I
Yeah.
was ignorant, not ignorant and a hateful trying to control women thing. Mine was, that, and I was adopted too. So that was my other thing probably with that too. I was like, well, why don't you have the kid and put up for adoption? I'm adopted. I had a great life and stuff, which, once again, you grow, you learn things. It's like, hell no, there's so many different situations. It's not that. Yeah. In a perfect world, people would have sex. No one got raped. No one would be molested, nothing horrible like that would happen. And if you had a kid, yeah, everyone, as far as that, that's just stupid, as far as that. So outside of that, that part of me has changed. And, I don't really know whether or not Jesus was born or reborn. I just respect the gospel and stuff like that. But outside of that, pretty much all my beliefs are pretty much the same as far as that. And in fifth grade, the other thing that made me really think is my aunt, who I'm close to, Sunday school teacher. I remember her, there's 5 of us in Sunday school class, bringing up the fact that, God made everything on earth. And he's like, he loves everything equally. He's like, even that little ant God loves. So that was always stuck in my head. So I guess all these things, I've always had reasons as far as that, even as far as that. But then at the same time, you're going to school, you're in meat judging.
Culture. Yeah.
As far as that goes, and the thing is, I kind of don't like talking about being on the pig farm because everyone expects you as a vegan to demonize, and the fact of the matter is, no, it's horrible what happens on it. But when it comes to small farms and stuff like that, that's your, parents, grandparents and stuff like that. So what's my favorite animal? I don't really have one, I guess. I mean, part of my beliefs.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah. I'm a cat person right now because I have Mookie, but I had a dog as far as that. But as far as I think everything has a soul, and it's kind of like asking me what my favorite person is, I guess.
I love turtles. I always have. I don't know.
Oh, really?
But like, it just seems like something about them. I feel peace when I see a turtle. Maybe because I was always a little bit like slower moving. People would be like, "Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up." Maybe I felt like a turtle. I don't know.
I guess it would. If you're going to say favorite, cats had a big influence on me. As far as that, I was probably around my cats more than I was my parents. A lot of thing, like on the farm, like my brother was into the tractors, did all that stuff. I was the go outside, go hang out the cats. The cats were indoor, outdoors. I grew up 5-acre farm, things like that. So I spent times that we called the pit, the pond. I spent all day. I was in Indiana Jones pretending I was on that, and then I had Maxter's, my cat, and Spooker, my cat, hanging out with me. And, and I spent a lot of time, as far as that, a lot of my personality was probably really formed from cats. So as far as that, I think that's why I work in Humane Society and a lot of like why I do it well. Also, not trying to sound, people that understand what I'm trying to say is I work a lot of people with autism, nonverbal. And I think that also helps me a lot because I know how to communicate without words as far as that. So
yeah.
Like when I work also places with people that don't speak English at first, it's not a big deal. I can usually communicate better because as far as like that, also works out great when you wake up or grow up with a speech impediment and stuff like that. Cats aren't as picky about if you don't pronounce things properly. So yeah.
I love that, right? I don't have to do my hair right.
Don't
say a word. I wanted to touch on that for a minute. So like growing up in that environment, did that influence your decision at all? Or was it not like growing up on a farm with animals? Was that part of your decision making, or did that really just was where you grew up and it was kind of isolated to the other experience with vegan?
I grew up being connected to animals, so I guess I would say yes. I don't know how to answer that question because I don't have anything to compare it to. Not growing up with animals. It's kind of like when people are like, "What's it like growing up adopted?" I'm like, I don't know. I've always been adopted. I don't. What's it like not growing up adopted? It's not growing up on a farm, infancy to be vegan. As far as that, being connected. I've always known animals had a soul. As far as that, even when I meet people in churches and stuff like that, said animal. I had no question as far as that. That's one thing. That's one reason. Even when I left the church, like atheism could never really work for me because if you just spend time out in nature and spend time with animals, there's more as far as that. Whether you're Hindu, Christian, Jain, Muslim, whatever it is, I think all of them are beautiful and all connect together. But I like that. And I'm cool with atheists too. Atheists is what part of that. I want to throw atheists under the boat, but I can never comprehend not knowing, the idea, for the same reason I don't comprehend anyone that can call themselves any religion or spiritual and think animals don't have a soul. I don't understand how someone can believe humans have a soul and animals or even other things have a soul. Like, to me, there's some disconnect to you. So I've always had that connection. So I would say growing up on a farm. Now is a question of, was all the horrible. I think everyone wants to be like, hey, we didn't butcher the pigs on the farm. We grew them and then took them to the market, stuff like that. Like, my father was not a hunter. Honestly, to this day, I think if he ever had to actually kill the pigs himself, he probably could have not, as far as that. But he was raised, this is how you feed people. You grow up, this is just the natural cycle type thing. Like, now there were a lot of other farmers, my brother, friends, that the people were complete psychopaths, like messed up and stuff, it's funny. My dad called me Runt growing up. Runt was my nickname. And litter is the small one that's not worth anything like that. But I never took it too bad, because any runt in the litter we'd always put in the alley, and my dad would never kill a pig. As far as that, he lived out his life fully as far as that goes. But it was always hard. I would, as a kid, cry because it's not great with still what we did with the animals type thing. But there was no like vicious. Like my father also was. I know every vegan's gonna flip out saying you can't love animals without being vegan, but honestly, I love animals before I was vegan. That just took
Oh
me.
yeah, I think that totally.
Yeah,
I just think
yeah,
it's a different level of connection that we
yes,
have
yes,
at that point, that we didn't have before, and I think that leads us to our being vegan once we connect those dots in a lot of ways.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, and my father was
Hi,
always,
Roxy.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, no problem. Was always we always shared our love for animals. Like, my dad's a big cat person as far as that goes. I mean, if I went to camp, 4-H camp, whatever, he would get the cat in my bedroom and stuff. Like, honestly, like, ironically, even to this day, like when our pets passed away and stuff like that, it hit him harder than it hit me. Like, he'd have to figure out like that as far as that goes.
There's
But
also like these boxes that we put ourselves in as far as like compartmentalizing things. I feel like it's
yeah,
maybe what your dad did, because like
yeah.
me,
Well, no, that's what I did.
this is
That's what.
how I make money for my family, even though it might not have been,
Well,
like you
it's
said,
not
like
just make
the
money; it's also
same.
culture, because his parents did that before him. That, as far
Mhm.
as that, a lot of people, I mean, and a lot of people, like, I think in the vegan, as far as that things are very different now. Like factory farming, not like any of the farming is great, but is much different on a smaller farm than like the factory farming. It's kind of like doctors. Big farm is a bunch of crap. We get pills like that, but the family doctors, a lot of people go to nursing doctors, aren't just about pills. Like, they actually had compassion, like, as far as that goes. Probably my dad's, kind of attitude and like the family attitude is probably kind of like Native Americans as far as that. Granted, they were going hunting and stuff like that, but it was that, part of nature is we eat, we got to feed people. I'm feeding people by raising these animals and stuff like that. He doesn't have pigs anymore as far as that. They got, after I moved away, came back, as far as that goes, he kind of, as far as that, they're just grain farmers, and as far as that goes.
That's good.
But we did, like I said, a lot of people probably don't understand this, but even though we were farmers, my dad, like, because the people around us, weren't like my father as far as that goes. Like, they were abusive to the animals. Like, my dad would never like abuse a cat, abuse a dog, use anything. And the only time he really was, hard on the pigs, because you'd get them in the trailer. I don't want to get into the details as far as that goes, but he was not a person that ever took pleasure in the pain. It's like that. I mean, I think we had a few rifles, and it was just because it was I don't know if his dad's, or like that old ones that passed down. They wouldn't let me get a BB gun. As far as that, we weren't gun people. Wasn't into hunting as far as that goes. Like, us, we weren't gun culture people as far as that. The only time I I kind of taught myself how to shoot the gun, and my friends taught me. And the only time uh, I was the friend that shot a bird once when I was in middle school. That really just with his BB, it wasn't my BB gun that really kind of screwed with me. And then the only other time I had to get a rifle out, I luckily didn't have to, but I almost had to shoot a dog that was tearing our sheep apart that came from the neighbors. There's like a half-breed husky dog, and that was, once again, what do you do as far as that? Like, obviously, I don't want to hurt an animal, but obviously can't sit here. And these other, because we were pig farmers and sheep farmers, but the sheep was really just big fields. They just kind of wandered, and we maybe shaved them for the wool when they got dirty type thing. The sheep weren't really like, we didn't use them for food. We didn't milk the sheep. Like, literally, we grew up on a 5-acre farm, and it's just honestly my dad's reasoning was basically like, hey, if you have sheep, on 3 of the acres, you don't have to mow that. Like as
Oh,
far as
right,
that,
right.
as far as that, there was no like money function to it whatsoever. As far as that goes, as far as that, that. And we're pig farmers, and we're also like, and he still is. We did soybeans and corn. Like we had, I'm gonna say 1,500 acres. I think they're up to 2,000 acres, or down to 1,500 acres. But as far as that goes, so and now he came from his side of the family. We're all dairy farmers. Like he grew up on dairy. So when I go to my cousins, so I've seen both as far as that goes. Now I will say, speaking of people around me, one that really did, I never had veal in my life. I don't think my father ate veal. We wouldn't do veal. Like we did have certain like morals. Our neighbors, they had veal, and I went into their barn. Now, as far as they're gone, like that. But I went into the veal barn. That was very traumatic to me as a child, seeing all these baby calves. Because I don't know how much you know about veal, but they're
Just
pretty
for
much.
what I've read, but not too much. I've
Yeah,
cut off.
it's horrible. I mean, that was one thing. Like even like growing up in the farm, they're like, okay, there's one thing. It's just natural way that you raise the animal, you kill it quickly, you eat it. Yeah, that's still horrible. There's another thing that you freaking torture something
They keep it in
on
a
end
small
just to make
pot.
it taste better and stuff like that. Like that, they're like that's not
I'm gonna turn
that's
my
a
light.
hard one to justify. Yeah, and I
Uh-huh.
walked in there and I saw that, so that was really hard. So that yeah. So I can't say there's one reason I went vegan or vegetarian. I guess there was more of a question of it was just a question of time when it was going to happen. It was never a question of did
Right.
it happen. As far as that goes, like it was always in my brain. So yeah, and I guess then after that, like I said, I went to college, ministry, left after a year, went through some different things, and after leaving college and kind of losing my faith and stuff like that, I partied for a while. I partied for a long while even after that, and
Right.
I finally got to a point I was like, you know what, I'm gonna instead of like rejecting, just Christianity, I'm gonna learn about every faith as far as that. Because once again, I was like, there's something there, even though the reason I love Christianity is, oh man, they're being at college, we're around other people. I mean, racism, all the ugliness of Christianity. Not, don't get me wrong, not all Christians are like that. Obviously, I didn't grow up that way, but I was kind of at a point, like even in the church I worked and stuff, I'm like, this seems like it's more about money and stuff, and it was I learned a lot there, not a lot from the school. I didn't go to class very much, stuff like that. I was a youth minister in middle school, high school, and then I did the elementary church camps and stuff like that. I was very involved. I also during the week always would go visit the kids at school, did a lot of counseling with them. I went to, it's called Koala. I talked to a lot of kids that were suicidal and stuff like that. And really enjoyed working, like not enjoyed what that's going with that as far as that. And when I like left the church and left like that, the ministry, a lot of people asked me to stay. But once again, it's just the politics and all that stuff. I stepped away. So that I went to a kind of a deep depression after that because, my whole life like that. So years later, like after that, I went and worked I was going to go into broadcasting because I was into movies and stuff. Because like I'm not going to be a youth minister, so I went to not Ivy Tech, Vincennes is a small school in Indiana. As far as that, and that's kind of where I got into weed and stuff like that. And did a year of broadcasting. I was wanting to make movies. I even wrote a movie. That's the reason I just did the broadcasting, learn about cameras and all that stuff. And because before I was going to go into youth ministry in high school, that was my junior year, I switched to that. I was either the two things I think I wanted to be for a little while. I wanted to be a vet when I was real young, but then I realized, yeah, being a vet, if animals are hurt, you might have to put them to sleep, and it's not like you just cuddle animals as a vet. Because also I got to know our vets, which I liked a lot, and help them type thing. And I was like, I'm not gonna have the stomach for
Right.
the reality of being a vet. It's not like, that's why once I worked at Humane Society, it's much funner to be adoption than like a vet tech or something like that. So that went really quick. But besides that, I wanted to either write movies, be a writer, or be a movie writer, or be a chef. My grandma wanted me to be a chef all her life. Like that was the thing she taught me. So after I left youth ministry, I was like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? As far as that goes. And my parents even had me take this test and stuff where they're saying, what's your, best fit type thing. And basically they're like, something like broadcasting, writing, some form of art. They're like, you're very artistic and stuff like that, which was always kind of hard for me because I was supposed to be left-handed, so I have bad handwriting, I had a speech impediment. So I had an artistic brain as far as that, but then I can't
Mhm.
draw. So that's why I love photography. I did that in 4-H as far as that. I did in or I was always close to my literature teachers as far as that goes. So I literally would have they would break off sections. So I would have to go to specialty classes for my learning disability for any grammar and stuff like that. But when it came to like Shakespeare and stuff like that, I was in the advanced class because I could read things, understand it. I could write a report. Like I could really comprehend. I mean, when my senior year, they like tested me and they're like, okay, here's what it is. When you read a single word, you're about at a 7th, 8th grade level. When you read a paragraph, you can comprehend at a graduate school level. They're like, you basically over comprehend. You can read a paragraph. That's why I could read like different like books and stuff like that and give you the gifs of all that and get into the deeper meaning, poetry, things like that. But if you want me to break down that sentence, I'm gonna sound like an idiot. And if you're gonna ask me to pronounce that word properly, I'm gonna sound like an idiot. So, but they had me testing, like, hey, I was like, you know what, I'll try the movie thing. Went to broadcasting. Honestly, I just partied a lot. I was gonna uh do a movie, and I was like, you know what, this isn't really working for me, and basically just went and worked moved town over with a buddy of mine. Ended up getting a job at Olive Garden. Came a server slash bartender, stuff like that. Made a lot of friends, and that's where everything. I was like, you know what, spiritually, and I had a few friends, or a particular friend that was a vegetarian. I'd chat with her about it as far as that. I was a vegetarian. I mean, I was eating, swordfish and all that, the OG. But I think right around, I don't know, a year or two after that, I was like, okay, I want to start. I was like, you know what, I was really thinking about like meditation, faith, and stuff like that. I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to study each faith individually, but I want to find it out from their point of view. Like I'm going to go to a Jewish temple, go through that as far as that, and I got into actually and I got into very big into Gandhi. Gandhi was a big, huge influence for me, which Martin Luther, there was always kind of, when I look at, I was like, Jesus Christ, Percy Shelley, Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi was kind of my
You're
trail
seeing the pattern of.
as far as that. And all of them are still connected. I don't really hold one over the other as far as that. So that, and then I left Terre Haute. I had friends that went to Chicago. Actually, between that, I moved back home. My friend got pregnant. I moved back to my home area to live with her, and she had her kid and work banquets and stuff as far as that. And then my other friends from the Olive Garden, they moved to Chicago, and they're like, hey, do you want to come to Chicago? It's like, sure. And it wasn't Chicago's suburbs outside, just for a change. I went and stayed there and got really into studies, reading Book of Tea, reading Taoism, pretty much reading every philosophy book. That's also where I got into my jasmine tea and stuff like that. And then I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go vegetarian vegan, and I stayed with them, and then I got my first studio apartment by myself. So I was like, you know what, when I move into this apartment, I'm gonna just kind of like do everything. I was also really
Yeah.
overweight as far as that, like maybe not as heavy as I am now, but now I'm heavy, but I'm not nearly as bad. Like I was in bad shape. Like I had a doctor like, you ain't gonna live to be 30 as far as that. So moved in there, moved into this apartment as far as that, really started reading philosophy and stuff like that. Decided, hey, I'm gonna go vegetarian. Within a month, I went vegan because I was like, let's be realistic. And that apartment had me near Chicago, so that's where I was in Aurora. I hit the Hindu temple once again. I kept studying philosophy as far as that, uh, Buddhism and things like that. So that's kind of where I went vegan. That's where that's where I went vegan. That's where I was like, okay, I'm vegan.
And how
This
old
is
were you then?
that would be 22, 23.
Wow. Okay. Been
2002.
doing this a while.
Yeah, but I did quit for a while too, as far as that goes. But I've been, so because I worked at Karen's in 2003, and I was vegan before that, because after when I went to Chicago, I first worked at this really fancy restaurant. It was just crappy. And I ended up working at a TGIF Fridays in
Oh yeah.
Batavia, which is cool because our head manager or general manager was a vegetarian, and then our head like that. So it's funny. It's like actually it was one of my favorite jobs. And every Thursday, like the cooks and stuff, we did a whole vegan vegetarian menu. So even though we were Fridays, we actually had a lot of people come for our vegan vegetarian food as far as
Oh,
that,
that's neat.
So yeah, and it was very like, obviously it wasn't a vegan restaurant, but everyone was really cool. Like everyone was very, as far as that goes. And when I was working there, being vegan, and that's where I was like barely getting into Jainism. But even at the Jain temple, like I said, I got the doshi who knew I was a Christian, and my job is also to go to Baha'i and actually teach people all the religions combined and stuff like that. So my spirituality really grew much stronger there, and way stronger than even when I was in the Christian college and stuff. It really brought fulfillment, And the Jainism, the Jain temple, and the reason I say I'm Jain is Jainism just fit me, like all my like beliefs for meditation, everything had a soul as
And
far
I
as that.
thought it was interesting. You said you studied all the different religions, because a
Yeah.
lot of us are just brought into a religion, and the biggest change we ever make in our whole philosophy is really becoming vegan. But to study all the religions and figure out which one that really resonated with you, that's pretty
Well,
cool. I was wondering how you landed on the Jain.
Well, I wouldn't say I just land on Jain. I kind of believe you can be like a Christian in Jain. The true, I mean, I follow Jainism, like, and I'm Tarapanth is a sect as far as that. So a lot of people don't realize even in Jainism, there's different, like some people like, they think the monks are nude. That's a certain sect. I'm with as far as that goes. But Jainism really is, like down to it is everything has a soul, and we're all ignorant and we're trying to get closer to our soul. We're all naturally loving and happy and stuff. It's very, very basis as far as that goes. So, and the concept is also that we're all here, so we don't got it figured out. So there is a big philosophy in Jainism. It's the again, I can't know how to pronounce the words, but the reason Jainism really fits for me, it's and it's been used in Buddhism and stuff. As the concept of our concept of religion is kind of like, what is it, the five blind men that a elephant comes in, and there's, I'm going to say, five blind men. They say, I haven't seen an elephant. So the five blind men go up, and, and the one blind man's filmed the trunk and said, oh, yeah, an elephant's like a snake. The other one's filmed the ear. Oh, no, an elephant's like a palm leaf. The other one's filmed the feet. No, an elephant's a trunk, type thing, and then you feel, like that. And the concept is that's how religion is. We're all probably kind of right, but we're blind. Like as far as that, it's religion doesn't disprove another religion. In Jainism, we think you can find enlightenment through any of your faiths as far as that. Now, Jainism just fits my style as far as that. So, like for me, the Jain philosophy is all about compassion, love, and stuff like that. Like we're not really all about converting people to Jainism, but we're all about teaching people about nonviolence as far as that. That's really the heart of Jainism is ahimsa as far as that goes. And then just like any religion, as far as that, you can get deep into that, as far as like, different, as far that, different sects, different people's opinions. I mean, there's certain Jains that think only men can be enlightened, which, I think it's much of BS, where I follow as far as that doesn't go. But,
Right.
but that of all the religions, that's the one that fit me as far as that, and really gave me the most freedom of thought as far as that, and it is a functioning as far as that. And basically because I do accept all religions as far as I'm kind of like a reverse atheist in Jainism. As a Jain, I can go into a church and pray with a Christian. I can go to a Hindu church. A lot of times a Christian can't go into a Hindu church as far as that. So that's why I look at that quite a bit. So I'm disappointed that all Buddhists aren't vegan. Well, Buddha himself wasn't vegan. So as
I
far as
know.
that,
I didn't know that until last evening. He sent me a video about the history of
yeah,
it. So
that was from Chef Dale. I just came about that, but I did know that as far as that goes. So yeah, and it depends on the sect of Buddhism as far as that. So like, yeah, so when I spent a lot of time, but honestly, when I went to the Jain temple where I live in Aurora, I would get up, I'd hit the Hindu temple, another Hindu temple, I'd hit the Jain temple, I'd hit the Baha'i temple, I had Buddhist friends and stuff like that. And we had a big group as far like that. So it was never like, this is, and that's where I think parliament religions was a really big part of the Jainism. That's a big thing we do that everyone, not the Jains do, is a big society thing as far as that. So that was even more. So my veganism and my spirituality definitely was going hand in hand as far as that connection and also that. So all that came in. And then when I was working at Fridays, I was like, you know what, there's this place. I was like, I want to work at a vegan restaurant in Chicago. I live in Aurora. Aurora is about 30-40 minute drive outside of Chi-Town. So, I liked working at Fridays. I was, I think, head trainer or assistant head trainer there, pretty good deal. But I was like, you know what? And there's a raw food restaurant called Karen's. I was like, I was planning on going raw, but you know what? One of the best ways to learn to cook things, learn stuff is to go work at a raw restaurant. Got hired on there. So I went and started working there and moved in I hate to do this. I'm gonna have to pause everyone because I drink a lot of tea. I'm going to use the restroom break.
Oh,
So
good. I do too. So maybe we can do a
okay,
little quick pause. Everyone take intermission, then we're going to get to
yeah,
Beyond Wellness. Welcome, everyone. Check out her interview I just did with her yesterday. It's right under this one, I guess, if you're looking at YouTube. I think it's under, right? So check that out. Thank you for joining us, Angela. And everyone go subscribe to her channel. And Marakita said to friend her on Facebook and and yeah, that's so true about that. Okay, I'm going to miss my opportunity. One moment. Well, actually, I could talk. Then I'll let him talk, and then I'll go because I feel like I'm leaving the guests. But yeah, I've been a yoga instructor since 2002. Angela said, and many yoga instructors are not vegan. Yeah, I think once we make our connection, it's so wild how we can look at these philosophies that are just so close. They're right there, but they're only practicing some part of it, But yeah, I think I definitely learned. I didn't know what Jain was either. And I find it very fascinating. I watched on his channel, he uploaded, I think he's going to upload it, but he did a interview with the Jain nun, which was really interesting. So hopefully, I don't know if he's already loaded that on his YouTube channel, but it's very interesting of learning, I think, just his definitely his journey, because there's a lot that I think all of us, we've seen little morsels and had compassion for animals, and it's so interesting to watch how people lead from the life they lead to becoming vegan or exploring it and then not doing it and then exploring it again, and then finally it all clicks. So I decided to keep talking so that I didn't leave everybody hanging with a blank screen. So I'll let you get back to your journey here, and then I'll run. So I think you were just. Oh, you're on mute.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead and use the restroom, and I'll just like kill some time here until you get back. So
You might want to address Angela's little comment there. I thought was interesting too.
oh, you got it up there. Hold, no, that's not Angela. You have up there.
Yeah, it's her. It's Boomer and Beyond Wellness, but she's Angela
Oh,
Fischetti
oh, okay. Oh, okay.
from
Oh,
Nice.
oh, that's not. Oh, yeah, Boomer Beyond. Okay, that was at Susan. Oh, so that's not directed towards me then.
No, she was just saying that when Susan said that she was surprised that all or disappointed that Buddhists aren't vegan, she was talking about how also yoga instructors aren't vegan as well, or a lot of people who practice yoga aren't vegan too.
Yeah. Well, you'll get my journey there. Why I quit going to yoga classes too, as
Boy,
far as
that's
that
not
in yoga. Like
ex-
that's the last 2 or 3 years. So yeah, yeah, and yeah, yoga. Well, and yoga is very well. Uh, well, let me look through here. Go ahead and go use the restroom, and I'll just kind of do not.
Okay, and welcome Carl too. I forgot to say hi to
Hey,
him.
Carl. Yeah, how about I'll do that? Let's see who's all here. So Carl, which Carl's from Scotland. I always like to say where people are from because I'm always interested in people. And MQ, oh my gosh, you're not Georgia. And Susan, okay, I know Boomer's Florida. I'm getting Charmin MQ confused. MQ, where are you from? I know you're, man, South. I guess it's not important. Susan, so I'm confused. So Susan, do I know Susan? And Noah can talk back to me. So let's see anything like that. So, well, thanks for everyone showing up. So hopefully I won't be too boring as far as that goes. So, and back to when Q asked me if I have a favorite animal, like, oh, hey, Apple, you're here as well. Apple, I know, is Vancouver as far as that goes. Yeah, yoga. Yes, Apple's been teaching yoga for quite a while. So yeah, but yeah, yoga. Like no, there's yoga is a very old, you know, philosophy and stuff like that. So yeah, but there is not all yoga teachers, and that's not just even the United States. I mean, if you go to India, there's a lot of yoga teachers that aren't vegan or vegetarian. Vegans not as. I mean, there's more vegans in India than there are anywhere else, but vegetarians way more common as far as that goes. So, oh, you're the one that messaged me about anacortes. Hey, how's it going? Yes, thanks for reaching out to me. Gotcha, because you have the little Buddhist thing in there as far as that goes. So cool. Yes, you're Los Angeles. So, oh, Atlanta. So yeah, I feel like an idiot. Atlanta is Georgia, so I was right about MQ being in Georgia. So yeah, but yeah, we're chatting about the yoga thing as far as that. So, and I'll be honest, like a lot of my channel, the DayaLof, which I guess at some point I'll explain why I named it that. What I'm gonna do on there is I want to get into bringing people on different religions, talking about it as far as that. Maybe talk about like yoga. Like I said, it's not a channel just it's not going to be just vegan vegetarian. It's all about compassion as far as that, helping people in different ways as far as that goes. So but yeah, I kind of forget what we were even talking about now. um oh, you're muted.
Wonder you couldn't hear me. I think you were talking. We were at the point where you went to work at Karen's at the raw food restaurant.
Oh yes,
The raw food.
so yeah, so I was like, okay, cool, I want to take the next step to the veganism. I mean, I was vegan, but work at a vegan place as far as that. So I went and worked at Karen's. I was gonna just be a server there. Karen's is a place, well, Karen's doesn't exist anymore, which that's a good thing, to be honest. As far as that goes, but it was a raw food restaurant, and as far as that, and then it had like a spa detox area, you can get as far as that, and then you could sign up and learn how to do a detox of going like vegans. Basically, it was kind of the heart of like vegan, like just all that stuff. So started working there. I was honestly going to go there and just be a server and make tips and stuff. And when I met Karen was yes. Do you know her, Boomer?
Hey, Apple, thank you for joining.
Yeah, Karen. Yeah, from Chicago. Yes, I work for Karen. Actually, they said they should call it Ryan's forever and be straight up one of the worst human beings I've ever met in my life. As far as that goes.
Well, then don't hold anything.
Well, you'll see she got closed down by her employees, like part of it being suing her type thing for abuse and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so I worked at Karen's and I got into the raw. And there we did a lot of juicing, detox, and stuff like that. So, but I worked for Karen. And when I did the interview with Karen, which I have to finally accept in, I guess I should say, when I was in youth ministry or back, even in 5th grade, I was doing my first sermons and stuff. So I always had, was it John Goodman, a little bit of the gift, a gab type thing. And I've always been, same thing when I worked at the All Ground, I was going to be a cook. And they're like, no, you should be a server. You'll make more money than that. You're good at chatting with people. You got a personality as far as that, which is really just crazy, because in elementary I used to get minutes taken off because I wouldn't speak up loud and stuff. Like they had to force me to be outspoken, and and that was kind of one of the jokes. So, like, it went from Ryan would never talk to him, now we can't get him to shut up. But
I was very quiet as a young child too. Yeah, and now I'm sure Don disagrees with that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think a big for me thing that changed is, was it like 5th grade or 6th grade? I'd always go to church camp. And church camp was a lot of fun. Like I said, I grew up, the Methodists I grew up, we were a lot more. I mean, we went and saw horror movies with our ministers. I mean, I was a youth minister. I took my kids to see the middle school. I was like, man, you got to go see Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like, I mean, we ain't no transgender. We're like that. We're all cool. I took them through that, type thing, and I'd meet my minister and we'd see the, newest, like, we were all, as far much like if you think Christianity was not that. We are, like I said, very progressive, very left wing. Not everyone in the church was like that. So I grew up, as far as that goes. Like my parents, I was probably more like that. They let me rent any movies as far as that goes. So, but but I was saying, I think a big part of my personality that really changed is I had to go to church camp. I'd always go, but there was one year I couldn't go with my people from my church and stuff. I was like, you know what, I'll go a different week. So I didn't know anybody there. So it was the first time, I want to say it's 4th or 5th grade, I went into the situation. I knew nobody. So I had to force myself to meet people and be outgoing. And that's where I really learned that I really like talking to people, to know people. It was like the best experience, get myself out of my own shell, being independent. And then from there on, I would always try to go to camps. I didn't know people because it didn't make me cling to my friends. maybe meet new people. Like that's the thing I realized. Oh, people are beautiful, great, especially when you get to know them. As far as that. So that's just a
That's
side
really
note. So,
cool. I think around the same age, like fourth, maybe mine was either fourth grade or maybe sixth. I think it was fourth or fifth, but maybe in the sixth, we went to sleepovers and I started telling scary stories and making people laugh. And I was
yeah.
like, oh, okay, I can actually talk to people. They actually are responding. I think humor was what has stayed with me that helped me kind of get out of that shell a little bit. So that's interesting. Right around that same age, it sounds like we, you know,
Yeah, which I can't see you being shy at all type thing. I mean, you're
oh, I
not a
was.
loud
Wait till
person, but yeah,
you should
as
hear from
far
my
as
mom. It's crazy.
yeah.
I wouldn't talk. My her friend thought something was a little bit like I wasn't, progressing normally.
Yeah. So, but that's kind of why I probably also chit chat quite a bit type thing as far as that goes. But I worked at Kara's. Like I said, the reason I was saying the gift of gab, she was like, "Hey, I want you to manage this place." She's like, "I want you to run all that," which actually was kind of crappy because I only made freaking $5 an hour. Where if I was a server, I would have made tips. So I got a lot more
Oh
work and
no.
stuff like that. As far as and she would just go on vacations and stuff like that, and the thing is, then I learned how to run the restaurant. But also the big thing was like people would, I want to say it was $2,000 or $3,000 you pay, and you would come in and you would do. I mean, like I said, they had Oprah come through. If you know who David Wolf is, no,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
raw David Wolf or Dave Wolf, because there's the Law and Order Dave Wolf, and then there's the raw foodist. You know what I'm talking about? Woody
Yeah.
Harrelson is really tight with him as far as that. So
I
like
didn't know that about Woody, but I did know. Like I watched the thing where like Doug Graham, and three other raw food people were like talking about the different styles that the different types of diet they follow within the raw movement. And I
yeah,
saw
yeah.
David Wolf there. That
Yeah,
was the
and
first time I saw him.
David back
I got
then was
the
big.
emails from him somehow.
Yeah, and David learned from Karen. Karen was his as far as that, and David actually ripped off a lot of stuff from them. There's a lot of shadiness that went on. Dave Wolf, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so Dave and I knew Dave. I met Dave a few times, but I kind of came in as Dave was taken off as far as that goes. So and that's where Dave's first books came out like that. So I kind of got dragged into it, which I was excited about and stuff like that. So yeah, I learned that, and and I went pretty much raw food. And ironically, I went raw and I went Jain at that time. So I did give up garlic and onion. By the time I
How
left,
did you
I
just?
was not 100%. What's
Oh,
that?
I don't mean to cut you in there, but just for those of us who don't really know, or for people that don't know, I know your entire you have a lot on your channel about Jane. But when you're talking about not
I don't
eating
do
onions
anything
and
right
garlic,
now, dude.
can you say like the concept of that, like about the least harm that you told me, kind of in like a simplified version of why you wouldn't eat onions and garlic?
Oh, okay. The onions and garlic thing. Like Jane is most karma can burn off the least amount of harm you can do. So a lot of monks will actually, as they walk, have things move like that. Uh,
So
depending
not
on
to
the
step
day.
on a bug or anything, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, not step on a bug, anything. Like we consider trees as far as that. True like monks and stuff aren't going to go swimming and stuff. Don't move a rock. Like it's very. I mean, I'm a lay person as far as that goes. They don't, to this day ride in cars. Now our Samani, who is part of the Terrapod, we have a few of them over here that flew over here, but that's just kind of the exception because the modern world they do change that. And I can't speak for every Jain sect as far as that. Now in Chicago, where I went was the Jain Center because there's not a lot of Jains and every form of Jainism there.
Mhm.
I'm I've now kind of go to the part I don't really do the statues and stuff. I believe in meditation as far as that, like the temples and stuff. I'm cool with people that do that. But where I went out, they had all that. But the onions and garlic thing is, well, it depends on
And potatoes too, right?
if any root vegetable. So basically, what I'm going to say is there's two things. When you pull them out of the ground, you're killing a lot of things. When you pull it out of the ground, you pull up the roots so that plant can't grow back. And a lot of roots, if you cut them, there's a lot of microorganisms, like why can't I think of a plant all of a sudden? Like a pepper is one thing, but there's a lot of things living in garlic and stuff as far as that.
Oh, that's
Some
interesting.
Jains will say that garlic and that will also cause in yoga and stuff. They'll avoid garlic and onion. That has more to do with temperament and things like that.
Vibration. Yeah.
Yeah. As far
I
as that,
just
or
never
just
have liked onions, so I don't really eat a lot of garlic either. So I
yeah. Well,
really
it's
are.
not just garlic and onion. It's root. It's carrots, potatoes,
Oh
anything from
wow.
under the ground. It's root vegetable. Garlic and onion is just like the big one that's hard to give up as far as that. I mean, people like
Right.
carrot, but you can put the bell peppers pretty quickly.
It
And
seasons so much.
potatoes. I would say the garlic, onions, potatoes, especially in Indian culture, is the one as far as that goes. So that's why, like at the Jain Center during the festival, like not a lot of people are. That's the only week they give up garlic and stuff like that. As far as that, now you like a lot of people I talk to is like, yeah, my mother, that's now 60 is now giving up garlic and onion and stuff. Now, when you're in India, I think it's pretty much all Jains aren't eating that, but it's also kind of easier because you can go to restaurants and stuff, and also as far as that goes. So,
Yeah,
but
it
that's
makes
kind
sense.
of
Like any religion, there's like the people, like maybe the priest might follow something
well, it's
that.
kind of like that. I mean, the farther up you go, like
Mhm.
Jainism is the strictest of the religions, but also the most forgiving as far as that, because we don't believe in a separate God. We believe we're all perfect souls and perfect gods, and we're just trying to get to that through reincarnation. So technically, nobody's higher or lower than anybody as far as that. Like it's just, ego, greed, and stuff like that. As far as that
Sounds
goes. So
beautiful.
yeah, it's a concept, Like for me, I don't believe you can. And the thing is, like when we see good in other people, that's seeing good in us. Like my whole praise and compassion is part of my spiritual growth. By seeing the compassion and greatness in other people, that brings it out of myself. So this kind of helps with my own spiritual path as far as that. And where we are very big about praising people that do good things, the other concept is you kind of imitate what you follow. So, for example, if a kid, is into like, let's see, I'm going to say rock and roll music. I don't want to say rap music that, or if, I'm not a big sports person. Let's go that way. So if a person's really into a football player, that abuses their wife and stuff like that, and it's like cusses and stuff like that, they're more likely to be like that. Even adults are like that. So the thing is, if you're going to look up to something, look up to something. So like, for example, it wouldn't be horrible for me to pray to Jesus, but our concept is there is no God that's going to change us. We change ourselves. The reason we praise and worship things is to be more like that. As far as that, like Lord Mahavir, like we give praise to, but he's on another level. Like he's not changing our lives or anything like that. It's just something to elevate ourselves as far as that, and we acknowledge like the guru of the one I'm kind of following reading, like he's always quoting Buddha and quoting Martin Luther King. Like, we think there's goodness in all that, like as far as that goes. But yeah, so that's kind of the thing with like Jainism like that. Also, in that time, I wasn't doing vinegar, so nothing like fermentation. I mean, a lot of Jains no multi-seed because like raspberry little bugs. I mean, you can get really deep into it type thing. As far as that, that's why a lot of times when I see
I mean,
people at
that's what's
different
so cool. Like, I was like, oh, that's a vegan. But I mean, that takes vegan almost to another even level, which is
yeah,
really
yeah.
cool.
Well,
So, like, there's no mistaking they're not eating any meat in that religion because they're
no,
not.
no,
They
no.
really are
Now
compassionate.
they did allow, and they still allow dairy. Is changing from that. There's never eggs or cheese, but granted, dairy back in the day, especially with Hinduism, cows were treated well. They were fed a lot of food. You would never keep a cow to milk a cow, but it's very common for cows to come up, and because you're fed, there's extra milk, so you would have milk. So milk back then was not considered. It had nothing to do with health as far as that, but it wasn't considered violence. It was considered like you're living in harmony with that animal type thing.
Mhm.
You weren't taking the milk and taking the calf away. Like the cow was getting this milk and the extra milk as far as that goes. Nowadays, like and once again that tradition is trying to get broke, just like different traditions of meat and stuff like that. So, but
And
there's a
that's
big
the thing
movement of
too.
Jains being vegan, but especially here in the States, like a lot of the younger Jains and even in India, it's really exciting with social media. I got to like see a lot of young Jains, just seeing them excited as far as that, about their religion and their nonviolence and stuff like that, and but they're pretty much the younger generation of Jains are pretty much going vegan as far as that goes. Like that's just which makes sense. Like Laura Maravir would have been vegan, looking at the everything's about nonviolence as far as
Mhm.
that. But a lot of them still, especially a lot of the older generation, they still grew up in the little villages and they see the cows, they're not abused, they're not seeing the farm cows and stuff like that. So but yeah, that's kind of how that went with that. So yeah, I'm at Karen's. Really love at that point. Like it was great. I was in Chicago, working at Karen's, running that as far as that, doing the raw food. Like I got to the point like she was taking off all the time. basically I didn't get a day off like over like almost a month and a half straight. As far as that, it was like nonstop. I was still till I moved to Chicago. I was waking up in Aurora. I would get up at like 3 a.m., go there, sleep in my car to miss rush hour and stuff like that. And also being involved with the temples, like I said, the Jain, like I said, that's really was my home to me. But I went to all that, like the Hindu monks knew me there very well, the Buddhist monks, because I went all that type thing. And then I had a lot of friends that would meet up, do philosophy chat and stuff. It was really cool. It was a very open type thing. I had a lot of friends that were like Buddhist and Jewish as far as that goes. Like it was a very cool, and that was really me being surrounded at Karen's, not Karen herself, but that's where I got deep into being around the vegan, well, my vegan society. Veganism when I came to West Coast was very different. This is where I really didn't realize, because also working at Karen's, I was like the only white guy. Like to me, veganism was African American. And as far as that goes, we went soul food vegetarian. Everything I knew about Africa were people from Africa, stuff like that. Also, I was very big into like feminism and meat, how meat was exploited, how women exploited type thing. I always wanted to ask MQ if she knew who. Actually, I have to go back to reading my things. Carol J. Adams, she's still a really big activist vegan, but about how women like that, and then veganism and how like just marginalized groups were treated and stuff like that went hand in hand. How Black people were treated, how Native Americans like that. So to me, it was I did not realize at that time how different it was when I came into veganism, how people are now as far as that, which is now it's called white veganism. I didn't like that. Like I said, I was the token white guy, which I loved it as far as that. Like as far as that, all my friends and stuff, like I fit in great as far as that goes. Like I don't really do well. Ironically, you put me in a room of a bunch of white straight guys, I'm very uncomfortable, depending on the guys. As far as that goes, you can put me in a room of like I'm every culture except for what I grew up around. I'm totally cool with it type thing. Because one thing I learned is like I learned like that is like as long as you're kind, treat people with respect, look them in the eye, pretty much everyone's nice to you for the most part. So as far as that, so I got to learn a lot like that. As far as that, Yahira is one of my good friends. Her father worked for the UN. She went to Harvard, was an artist type thing, and then friends from Switzerland that worked there. Like it was just tons of different culture. And then just Chicago. I love Chicago, as far as that. And then when I finally moved to Chicago, I got a little studio apartment, and I lived in the African neighborhood. And when I say African, I don't mean like Black people. I mean everyone from Africa is the African neighborhood, like all African stores and stuff. And when I lived in Aurora, where I rented at, I was in the Latino neighborhood. Like it was really great. It was all like most of the people from Mexico, families and stuff. I got to know them. I'd always have to ask the landlord. I was like, hey, everything's cool, but I can't read Spanish. So anytime you put a sign up, you got to let me know it's up, because I don't know how to. But I really liked it there. So I went from there to the living to the African, literally African like that. And it was really cool. I went to the tea shops. People knew me as far as that goes. And then a few blocks over was Little India, and the Jain temple from Bothell, and the Hindu was like, I had my restaurants I went to that make me Jain food as far as that goes, and I'd get my boxes of coconuts and stuff like that. So, and then the end when I worked at Karen's, that's when I went 100% raw food. I was raw, and I didn't do any fermentation, so no vinegar, no yogurts, even soy yogurts, no root vegetables. Like you want to talk strict, I was like way like strict as far as that. And then I went fruitarian for a while as far as that goes. So see you later, Apple.
Thank you. And I'll, of course, be on replay. I was just going to ask, when you said you went to, because I'm just kind of curious, what was Jain food like? Was there like grains and rice at the restaurant?
Oh yeah, that with the Indian restaurants and stuff like that. Yeah, it'd be like a dosh there. I mean, basically think of an Indian dish, but instead of garlic and onions, they use a lot more cumin, coriander, stuff like that. It's not that crazy as far as that. And then you wouldn't have potatoes in the curries. You'd have much more like a squash, those type things as far as that goes. So yeah, as far as like Jain, but really Jain dish should be anything. That's one thing I want to do more cooking and make a Jain Americanized cookbook for the new generation.
That would be cool.
Do spaghetti, do different things, like hummuses and stuff, how to make them. And there's a spice, I can never pronounce it. It's called the devil's dung's one word for it. There's another one. It smells awful. I know Kathy's talked about it. Once you learn to cook with it, you have to like bloom it and stuff like that. But there's like that. And the cool thing is when you give up garlic and onion and things for a while,
Find
and
other things.
huh?
You find other
What's that?
things to sub it.
Yeah, makes you a better cook.
That's like we were
Where's that?
talking before about. I was asking you because you always seem to have a craft for cooking, or your was it your grandmother or someone wanted you to be a chef,
My
right?
grandmother. My grandmother was yes. I mean, yeah. I mean, I would always beat the home ec teacher's daughter, and like we had like it's called 4-H foods. As far as that, I was always number one in that. Like, I mean, I've always loved cooking, baking, stuff like that. Like, certain, and my mom was a baker or like just cookies and stuff like that. So
You
that
make
was
some good vegan baked goods, don't you?
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. The baked goods, no problem. I mean, to this day, like when I was here, I have a lot of people that would like ask me to bake cookies for them, vegan cookies that aren't vegan, as far as that goes. Now, depending
Right.
on
That's when
that,
you know
that
you're
at that point,
cooking.
I was doing healthy vegan. Now, I was still healthy, even like that, because even when I went vegan, like I didn't really. I'd eat tofu when I went out, but I didn't know how to cook tofu, and there was no. We weren't calling anything whole food plant based. I was also just trying to get as close to nature as possible too. So I was eating, like honestly, when I lost most of my weight, my main diet at home was whole wheat couscous with like brown sugar and soy sauce is one of my favorite, and almonds. As far as that, so because grain's considered very high in Jainism because like rice and stuff, it's the least violent. You don't kill anything. It's not a seed as far as that goes. You know, as far as that goes.
What about
Um,
when you went raw? Like then from that you went to raw food when you were working, like I guess while you were working at Karen's, and then at some point you transitioned back the other added cooked food too. I noticed you have like a really good knowledge of like whole food plant based too. So somewhere along the line you've looked like you've studied everything, right? Every religion, every diet.
I mean, the whole food plant based, like, so we didn't call it like, Dr. Klepper.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize I had his For People That Love Animals books like that. He did his oil back then, which was basically a whole food plant based book, but we didn't call that. I had the Farm Sanctuary book. I think someone like as far as that goes. So most of the books I was reading were, because at that point, like vegan and health were hand in hand, and everyone going to Karen's is pretty much trying to be healthy as far as that. I mean, when you're going through the Karen's program, like you did basically vegetarian for a week, you did vegan for a week, then you did raw for a week, and then you do a 3-day fast. But we had all these other things you did, like you get colonics done as far as that, which flushes you out. It's all about cleaning, detox, like as far as that. I mean, when I left, I was only using raw shampoo. I would only use distilled water to clean with. I had filters on that. Like, I mean, you're talking like as far as that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that was pretty much and that's why I was kind of saying when I went from the flossing and stuff, the Karen thing kind of sucked me in, and the raw food thing kind of, and that's where, it was cool because I was learning about a lot of cultures, but then a lot of the rich white people are coming in. That's where you had the people wearing their fur coats coming in that were raw food and stuff like
You
that.
were like, wait, this is not adding up.
Yeah, yeah, and then we'd have homeless people come in. They would kind of treat like crap like that, but they would still be vegan and stuff like that. And then like Karen, she was hiring a lot of like illegal people, which nope, but for the purpose that she could take advantage of them. As far as that, she wouldn't pay them like that. I was having a lot of issues with that. Like she really like mistreated people like that. She mistreated me too, but that was a big deal. I mean, Jerry, and he called me an effing idiot so many times. I mean, honestly, I was so he's pretty lucky I went to the temple a lot, did a lot of meditation because right now probably punched him in the face type thing as far as that. And it got very difficult for me because I was trying to protect everybody. And then I was just little man on totem pole type thing as far as that goes. And then yeah, so there was a lot of that. And then and with the detox and stuff, I really a lot of people that came in, it's just all about I want to look pretty, look great, I don't want to grow old and stuff like that. And a lot of times I don't like a lot of influencers are just all about worrying about aging. But then we had a lot of people that come in and it's like, hey, I have a grandkid. I want to live to be this. We had people going through chemo. And before I left, some of the people were going to do their own raw food type thing. And there was a few people went and invest. And one of them was a very wealthy person because their daughter had chemo and I helped her out a lot. And he's like, hey, you can have like, I'm gonna get you a BMW. It's like literally like he was gonna drop, I think, hundreds of $1,000s. And I think they end up doing it as far as that goes. But I kind of at that end was I I was becoming like obsessed with, I lost a lot of weight, juice fasting. I didn't like the person I was becoming. It was becoming, you know, the spiritual aspect of it. And I was like, you know what, I really want to follow my spirituality. And I realized I gotta go to India. I was thinking about becoming a Jain monk, but I was like, you know what? I had a buddy in Washington State at the time. He's Navy. He's like, hey, you don't have kids or anything. And I quit Karen's. Actually, I had a little walkout. She had to close down for a few days because to the point I was like, screw you. We're all didn't quit as far as that goes. I mean, there was one time, this is back where everyone talks about green. I was teaching people green smoothies. We were doing the Vitamix. As far as that, this is when Vitamix is coming big type thing. I was teaching people how to make almond milk, but she wanted it. One of the things that's how almond. She's like, you don't teach them how to make almond milk. If they know how to make it, they're going to come buy it from our store type thing. Because we did all raw ice creams there and stuff like that. As far as she's all about money and all about that. We had the Sprout guy come through. It was just as far as that goes. Like I said, it was that. But yeah, and that was like
sounds like a learning and a learning experience, but yet also a negative experience in a way too at the end there.
But that's how all life is. That's all. Honestly, it's kind of the same story. Right? Everything's story over. How did I become vegan from being on a farm? My experience at college. Christianity was good, but then I saw the bad aspects of it. I went to a raw food place, saw a lot of good aspects, bad aspects of it. As far as that goes, that's why I'm not too extreme. I'm pretty passionate about things, but I try not to be too extremes on things. So yeah, so once I left Karen's,
he likes vegan knowledge, JJ, but he doesn't like the corny jokes. I'm just playing.
Don't like the what? The corny jokes. No, corny jokes are good type things. So as far as so basically, when I quit there, my buddy was like, "Hey, come out to Washington State." So I was got to go out to Washington State for 6 months, and then go over to India and go to I can never say, but that city, it's the only city that's vegetarian now, and travel to the temples.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Everything up. So I came out, stayed with my buddy for like a half a year. He was in a place called Oak Harbor that's near Anacortes. Then I moved to Mount Vernon, worked at Sears, became friends, ended up working at the Thai house, and honestly just ended up partying for the next few years and stuff like that. When I came to Washington, that's when I quit being raw. I was eating a lot of raw, but that's where I allowed cooked food in. And I took a month to get from Chicago. Actually, I left Karen's. I went down to Kentucky to the River Gorge area. I stayed there for about 3 weeks, just camped. And basically, no, I was only there for 2 weeks and did some fasting as far as that goes. And then I decided to go to Chicago, and I actually did a 3-week fast as far as that. I was drinking juices and stuff as I could pick up as far as that goes, but I fasted all the way out there. And then when I met my buddy, I was like, you know what, I'm going to eat some cooked food. Let's have some few drinks. And like, that's kind of where I went off the wagon, quit being raw, but I always stayed vegan as far as that goes. Worked at Sears for like 6 months selling, like large appliances and stuff, which once again, I'm really good at chatting with people, but I'm not really a good sales person. Like, and they were like,
like you were telling them, you don't need this. I can see you doing that, right?
Well, yeah, that was my boss took me in and was kind of like, she's like, what's funny about you is you have the lowest sales, but you also have the lowest returns. I was really good because I was not like you don't need this, but a family come in, I'm like, you know what, you can probably get by. Like, I was very big about what you can pay for your budget, being honest type thing. Like, you got a family of 4 kids. You don't need the highest thing as far as that. You need to buy this washer and dryer that gets you through type thing as far as that goes. Like, I sold with my conscience. Like, I've never sold anything I didn't believe in. I didn't do the upsell and stuff like that. So I was very good at chatting with people, but I was not at, and I'd always get sales stolen from me. I'd work with people forever. They'd come in on my day off and someone come in, ring them up for all that stuff, and they'd get all my commission. And once again, I was like, Ryan, you should just be all pissed off about that. I'm like, I was still very zen like that.
What year is this now when you went to Washington? Because you're there now, I think, right?
Well, this is my second time back in Washington. Okay. I moved to Washington in 2004. I was only at Karen's for like a year. Really, all the vegan stuff all happened within about 2 to 3 years. Like, it was probably like 2001, 2002. I moved to, it's actually called, no, it was called small suburbs, but I lived with my friends for like 6 months. I moved to Aurora and worked at Fridays probably for about a year and a half, 2 years. Went to Karen's. I was probably at Karen's. Actually, I was probably at Karen's. I was part of that culture for a while, but I was only at Karen's for a half a year to a year. Like I got like I mean when I left, it'd been 6 weeks since I had a single day off. I mean,
Sorry about the noise. The bike we
no,
hear.
and yeah, and when I say Karen's, I mean I was there. I was showing up early. I was staying after making people out to the car. We had people get sexually assaulted because they were working with clients as far as that late at night. Karen didn't give a crap about that. Like I was killing myself, just because of my conscience. So I literally would like show up at, like I said, when they open as far as that, and then there would be like Star, who I was close to. She was a nurse and also did health things. She had clients that would come in at like 9 and stuff. So I'd go just hang out so I could walk her to the car and stuff, and you
Oh,
know
that was
get
nice.
get burnt out, like a lot of stuff like that. Just trying to help out a lot of people. As far as well, everyone helped out. Like I wasn't like a saint or nothing like that. Like everybody pulled together. Like it was a lot of, like I said, the things with me, the negative really sticks out to me because there's so much good. That's the thing that really, I think, for one thing in my life that pisses me off is I'm so short tempered with people because so many people are good. That like I think 80% of people are good. So that's why I have such a small like that. I'm not a negative. So when I talk about the negative things at Karen's, there's way more good people there, which just makes their awfulness stick out more. Like when you're surrounded by whether the people spiritually, the people I worked with at Karen's and stuff. So but yeah, so that was about 2000. I left there probably at 2004, and I took a, like I said, I just camped. I stayed in North Dakota for a week, Montana for a week. It was awesome. Got to meet a lot of people. But I mean, I could do a whole 2-hour thing just talking about that trip. I just hopped on the road, did the map type thing, and as far as that, loved South Dakota. It was cool. I mean, stayed in the Badlands. One of the coolest things, waking up here and like sniffing in that and realizing 200 like bison are walking around you. As far as that, stayed in the Black Hills. I have to meet take a shower. I met a really cool, they were a couple because he was one of the first gay guys to open one of the first gay bars in Montana, as far as that goes, and got to hang out with them. And then his friend, she was like a lesbian, that truck driver and stuff, hung out with them. I got to go as far as that, met a lot of cool people. Can't remember what town. Went to was it Rushmore, which fuck Rushmore, but sorry, I shouldn't cuss. But I didn't go to Rushmore, but then I went to Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse was really cool. I got to meet some people and chat with about Native America culture, like as far as that, and got to talk to them and stuff like that. Where once again, the whole Rushmore is a bunch of crap and stuff like that, and how as far as that, still the whole social aspect of it, So that was kind of the trip. That whole trip was also that. All life's learning experience as far as that goes. Like, it's just, that's the thing I've learned, meeting different people as far as that, and just walking in, saying hi, and just treating people. So then ended up in Washington, met up my buddy and stuff like that. And Oak Harbor, like I said, worked at Sears, moved to a town called Mount Vernon that's kind of near here. Ended up working at the Thai house, which how I ended up there is in a Cordis where I am now. There's an Indian restaurant, and the people there I was really close with, they'd make me vegan food. I was going to work there, and their server, for some reason, was going to work at Mount Vernon. And he's like, why don't you just work at the Thai house? Because it's literally connected to my apartment, and the cooks live next to me and like that. So I ended up working at the Thai house, which I came very close. I worked there for 2 or 3 years, lived downtown Mount Vernon. Really cool type thing. And my friends out here type thing. I mean, like now family as far as that goes, it is pretty cool. It had Althea's and stuff like that, which was like a tea shop. I mean, I basically made that kind of my home. I have a tendency of really making anywhere my home type thing. Like when I was in Chicago and stuff like that, my friend Andrea, like she introduced me to a tea shop. I went there and they say hi. She's like, why is it? Because she knew me. She's like, why is it anywhere you go? Once I go there, like 4 or 5 months afterwards, you would think you were the person that grew up there, just because every person in the store will know you and stuff. I was like, I don't know, that's just how it is. So yeah, so that's how that was, and became good friends with everyone there, and like the Thai house was really awesome. Penn and Denny, Penn loved me to death. She was Buddhist, vegetarian. They didn't know what vegan was, but was Thai, so I do that. And they really made like a Thai menu for vegan. Like you could always get vegan stuff on the Thai menu, but they really created that type thing. And I was like pretty spoiled rotten there as far as that goes. Like there, I started gaining some weight back. I was eating cooked food, oil, coconut, not like getting back like as far like that type thing, and I mean it's to the point like I eat way more Thai than I eat anything. I'd be like,
It's
I
good.
need to go out and get a
Mhm.
veggie burger, just to mix it up and stuff. Well, yeah, and it's free food, and literally, I'd come in, and his pen, and then the other cooks, were 11 or 6 year old, like 67-year-old, like Thai ladies from Thailand. They'd come make money, and of course they loved me, and they're like, "Hey Ryan, we're making this here, taste this type thing." I mean, it was like having your. That's why Thai food, I think, is close to me. It has a lot of good memories, a lot of food as far as that. That's why I always say I never find food as good as Thai food as I had Thai food there, but that's because that food was made literally for me. It was like my mother cooking it for me. Like that's
Mhm.
how Pin and stuff was. Like they came back and say, Ryan, like this, eat this. Like, I was eating just the stuff that go out there. So it's kind of like everybody's like your mother's dish, like your mother's, I mean, I hate to say this, but like your mother's fried chicken is the best fried chicken because she made it, what you grew up as a kid. That's how the Thai food was for me as far as that. So a lot of Indian dishes, like when I was in Chicago, was like that. So basically, yeah, so that's where I kind of quit being raw. I always like still believed in it, and I gotta really step back. So that was, yeah, as far as that. And then honestly just kind of partied a while there. Kind of after a couple of years there, I was like, you know what, I'm partying a lot. I moved to Anacortes. One of my friends, Lake, uh she was Thai, but one of her good friends, she came over here because she married someone in the Navy's military area. But she's like, yeah, my friend's pregnant. She got pregnant by a guy. She's like looking for a nanny because when I lived in Indiana, I moved back and moved in with my friend that had a kid, and I've been taking care of kids since fourth grade. I was changing diapers type thing, so I was ready for a change. She's like, "Hey, do you want to move it to Anacortes? You can have a free room and basically take care of. She's gonna have the kid." I moved in 2 weeks after, be a live-in nanny. Plus, then I work at some boy alley restaurant here, so I did that and loved being a nanny and stuff like that. Other stuff kind of went in. She was a little immature, was letting party and stuff go out. I kind of, did that for a while. Kind of actually went to massage school. Thought I was going to do that and left. Left Wash after being in Washington. I was like, I've had my time here, and I
Mhm.
was like Kentucky. So I was like, hey, let's move back to not move back. I was like, well, you know what? I'll move down to Kentucky. I'll be within 4 hours of my family. I didn't want to go back to Indiana just because it's flat boring. There's no jobs for me there. So after Washington, yeah, I moved to Kentucky. In Kentucky, I'm still this whole time I'm still vegan. This is probably 2010 as
Mhm.
far as that. And part of my path is I got two DUIs while I was in Washington.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, one was kind of crap because I got pulled over going back to the house, and they were like, "Hey, your car looks like a." Everyone drives Volkswagen of a guy reported that I was shooting stop signs. So we got to take you in, which of course I'm shooting stop signs. I was in there and all that. I'd had a couple beers, and I drink beer because like that. And while I was there, they're like, "Hey, we got to put this guy on the side." And another guy came in screaming and yelling because they're like, "Hey, we like that." As far as that goes, and then actually that, and the cop said, "Put your fingers in your ear." And I was like, "Okay," and I could still hear them. They're like, "Yeah, we're on this guy's, record, my record." And like, he has no violence in his past, never owned a gun or anything like that. And like this other guy's coming in. It was obviously he had a car that just like 1980s blue Volvo, like all those hippies drive type thing, but he's much more of a redneck type thing, and he was a guy drunk as hell shooting stuff like that. So like, hey, we're gonna have you go over here, go into like the cell. I wasn't like in jail cell, but like that, we gotta give him
This
the
was in
breathalyzer.
Washington, or
Yeah, this is Washington. This is
okay.
Washington. This is like yeah, early like 2006, 7. This is when I'm a nanny type thing. So they gave him the breathalyzer, and they had me come out and said, "Hey, well, because they asked I've been drinking." I said, "Yeah, I had a couple beers." As far as that goes, and like, well, we technically, since you said I have to give you a breathalyzer, I blew off the charts to the point the cops were like, "You don't even look drunk." I'm like, "Okay." They're like, "Well, did the alcohol affect you?" I'm like, "Well, if I do that high," I was like, apparently it affected me. I was like, okay, this is crap. Like, as far as that, went to court, got a lawyer. Lawyer came back, took me aside, and said, "Here's the deal, Ryan. Typically, it's good to be honest, but the problem is that breathalyzer machine malfunctioned throughout all the breathalyzers that night, and you blew on top of that guy's breathalyzer. But because you said the alcohol affected you, you got a self-incriminating DUI. Because it's
Oh no.
possible. But honestly, I drank and drive. To me, it was karma catching up on me as far as that. But the irony of me getting, it's like probably the one time, well, actually, that's the thing. When I lived in, drank a lot, I also walked to my apartment, so I didn't really drink and drive as far as that. And when I was going there, like the reason I had beer is I don't like beer. I'm a wine guy or bourbon guy. I can drink like 3 bottles of wine to one beer. I can't do, it's not just beer, like any carbonation, like pop. Like it takes me
Yeah.
like an hour to drink like that. So as far as that goes, so that was that one. And then when I was in massage school the other time, I pulled over, and honestly, I was like lightheaded and stuff. I hadn't drank a lot, and they actually, I got that's where they found out like my blood sugar is all over. Like I was like peeing out ketones and stuff. I went to a doctor and stuff like that. So that one I had been drinking. So that one of those really was kind of crap. I shouldn't have got, but I, like I said, when I live in Indiana and stuff, we all like drank and drove around the country. So I mean, I deserved it. Like I'm not acting like I shouldn't have it, but it's just one of those funny. That first one was just kind of funny like that, But Indiana, Washington is really weird. They don't put anyone in jail. They just want to get money from you, give you breathalyzers in your car and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back then, like when weed was illegal, like if they pulled you over, they would just make you break your bong. They're always looking as far as
Did
that.
we ever think we'd hear that phrase when weed was illegal, right? Where I was
Yeah,
growing
yeah.
up, I would have never imagined there would be a time I'd be hearing that. Actually.
I know too. Yeah.
So I know it's getting later. I'll probably have to wrap up by 8. So I want to make sure
Yeah.
we get to your channels and hear the whole, like the way this kind of unfolded to where you are now. So like you went back to Washington at some point, and is that when you started? Well, you just started the YouTube channels and stuff recently, right? So,
Yeah,
but
no, all that's
you went
brand
through a
brand.
lot
I mean, I'm
before
just now starting it. I mean, let's switch the name to the YouTube channel. Yeah.
right?
Well, real quick, which is probably
Yeah, let's catch up.
it
Well,
took
I know
long, but
there's
I
a lot
went to
more to it.
Kentucky. I worked at the Humane Society. My brother died. I had to go back to Indiana, work on the pig farm. Went through Big Depression. Got deep into drinking. Quit being vegan. Started smoking. Ran
Whoa,
my car.
whoa, whoa! Slow
Yeah,
down. We gotta tell the people. Wait,
like I
wait.
said, if you want me to
So
go
much
quick,
in
yeah,
one sentence.
yeah,
Like,
that's
wait,
where I
wait,
quit
wait.
being
So,
vegan.
I'm
Yeah,
so
my
sorry that
brother.
happened to your brother. By the way, I'm so sorry.
No problem. Yeah, so when I moved to Washington, I worked at the Humane Society for a couple of years, which I totally loved. As far as that was my other favorite job. So, but there, and then, yeah, I worked on a horse rescue farm. I can tell you about some terrible things on that stuff. But once I left Kentucky, I went back home, and then, I mean, when I went back home, the rule was I was going to work with the pig farm. Like I had all different like boundaries up and stuff like that. But my brother worked on the farm. My dad is close to him. They're going through everything, so they're able to guilt me and manipulate me into doing a lot of things. And pretty much all my values went out the window as far as that. When I was younger, it was easier, but I couldn't be as big as a prick because they lost their only
Your
other
son.
son
Yeah.
as far as
And
that goes.
so that had to be like a lot of really internal conflict because you were
Oh,
already so far removed and into veganism, and then to
oh
help your
yeah,
family, you
yeah.
had to
And
go
they're
back.
basically making me my brother. They were trying to the point wearing his clothes and stuff. Like they wanted Ryan to be erased as far as. And I actually in Chicago is the first time I thought about calling myself Lee when I went like vegan and stuff. That's kind of where I came back to that. So that and things just kept getting pushed, and then I mean, I had good friends back there, but it was a different type thing, and also just my dad was really nice, but a lot of people helping out with them were mentally abuseful to me, which also I found out were mentally abusive to my brother type thing. And there's a lot of crap I took because, hey, I didn't want to rock the boat because, these are hurt my parents' friends' feelings. Stuff like Ryan's, as far it was a weird situation, I mean, it was stuff, and it was weird coming in that because people in high school and stuff, and my brother knew me as being very like I did what I want, I would have stood up for myself. So yeah, so I just happened to hit pigs, do all these things. I went from having a job where I was highly respected. I like helped animals that were abused and stuff. Very proud of myself. Working a lot younger people mostly. Once again, Pet Smart, I was the only white straight guy there. As far as that, all my bosses, both of my bosses were white, colored, and and not straight. As far as that goes, which I loved it. Always fit in great. As far as that goes, and worked with a lot of younger people, and everyone knew me. And then I worked at a horse rescue farm, and love renting the horses. I won't get into that because we don't have a lot of time. But basically, when I went back to help my brother, big time depression, and my mom was making me move into his house, do all this stuff. I didn't see really a life for me. Thought I was gonna stay here, take over the farm, trying to figure that out. Went from partying to drinking in the morning. I was numbing myself, and honestly, drinking when I left Christianity at first really became drinking because I was trying to numb myself from a lot of stuff, like drinking and all that. There's a lot of partying aspect of it, but my brain, it made me not think. As far as even as a kid, I always had insomnia because I always think about stuff. So I mean, I even told my parents, I was like, I'm gonna take my own life. I can't do this and stuff like that. And they were like, my mom said, okay, we won't make you do this. And then the next day, like, as far as that, my aunt, who was my aunt that told me like God loves everything like that, she's like, you've got to get out of here. She's like, these people are just angry, not just my family, this whole town. She's like, you're naturally, and they want to put me on antidepressants. They're like, you're depressed, maybe it's genetic. And I was like, well, I was like, no, I was like, I'm depressed because I mean, it was to the point I was scared. I was at a point in which it was so bad. Like, I didn't know it. I would always have night terrors. Like, there was no getting away from it. I was depressed when I was up. I was unhappy, walking like that, as far as that, and even sleeping. Because usually when you're depressed, you can sleep. I would have night terrors, stuff like that, like that. Like, it was just awful as far as that goes,
So you were
and
just basically like taking drinking and just numbing the situation.
drinking, and I quit being vegan because I knew that was a good way to gain weight, and I knew it'd make people, because people knew something was messed up when I quit being vegan. Like, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people like, I quit being vegan because I need meat to make me healthier. I quit being vegan because I didn't want to live longer. Like, I had no concept of, when I started eating meat and cheese, was not that I needed calcium, I needed the protein. I was like, hey, this is a good way. And I also took up smoking cigarettes. Purposely took up smoking cigarettes. Like, I was like, what is every bad, horrible decision I can make? And there was many times I was driving that truck and thinking I could just throw this into the telephone pole and stuff like that, as far as, and everyone was so proud of Brian, smacking the pigs around, getting them on there and stuff, and that's what makes it hard, is people being proud of something you're ashamed of. That's the weird thing. It's one thing to go that people are happy with things that, as far as that goes. So, and yeah, and it was, 4th of July, I was 3 sheets in the wind, but I finally, I mean, I ran my car right into a telephone pole, had butted it, took it off. I had to get flown to the hospital as far as that goes. Yeah, I think one of the funniest thing about being flown to the hospital, they have to make sure if you're conscious, and they have to ask you questions, and my buddy was with me, and they're like, yeah, one thing they noticed Ryan is, because at this point Trump was president. They're like, well, what year is it? And I was like, whatever the year was, like, who's president? Like, apparently I went on a big cussing spree, like, that goddamn Bob Trump, like even on your deathbed, you hated Donald
Right.
Trump. I was like, yeah, there's never been a moment like from, as far as that goes. So yeah, and I should say, even I've always been, I mean, Iraq War, I went to DC, protested that, so I've always been very political and very I mean, I vote Democrat, but I'm Green Party as far as that. So yeah, so after that, all that went through, I was like, okay, it's time to break out. That's why I came back to Washington, get myself on track, and got a DUI 5 years ago. But that one was just, I was a caregiver, and I celebrate with somebody that passed their caregiving thing as far as that. And this is where I was kind of stopping the drinking and stuff. This is right before COVID and stuff. So that, and when I moved to Washington, I was like, okay, I need to get back to being vegan, but as far as that, honestly, getting that DUI was good because then I got mental help. I got to get over like my actual emotional trauma. I think I had some PST as far as that goes. And kind of went back to, and then the first house I rented from here still is kind of hard. I rented from a friend's room, and or a room from a friend that argued with their kids, stuff, a lot of not like that. So I now, where I rent from is actually who I nannied for. They turned their garage into, it's going to be an Airbnb, but they couldn't do like that. So I now rent a basically guest house from, who whose daughter, who when she's 2 weeks old, up there type thing. So that's how I'm back in Washington. Because Washington was just basically my way up. I could have gone back to Kentucky, but I kind of wanted to give my, you know, everyone the middle finger saying, hey, you want to keep pushing me around? I will move as far away from here as possible. And I knew I could have a job. No, honestly, I was supposed to work at a Thai restaurant, my friend owned out here all before COVID, as far as that. So yeah, that's how I came out here. And then you heard me talk about the parliament religions because when I was in Washington, I got away from Jainism because it's crackers out here. It's a bunch of white people. That's where I really came into white veganism when I came to Washington. That's where I was like, I don't really, like, I didn't stop being vegan, but I was like, I don't like vegans. Like, I never understood why people were like anti-vegan because I was in Chicago. And like I said, I thought vegan was like, it wasn't really a white person thing. It was all about social justice and stuff like that. It wasn't until I came to Washington, it was around all the rich, this type thing. And I was like, well, like that. I was like, honestly, I got way as far as that goes. So, but then I moved back here. But also, yeah, and there's not really like Seattle's great, but it's really just districts as far as that. You don't have like India. There's one like not just Jain. There's no Hindu. There's not a lot of that out here. I mean, there's some Buddhism and stuff, but it's not nothing like it was like in Chicago and stuff. So I just kind of went on autopilot as far as that. So, but the second time I was out here, I was like, I really want to get back into who I was, honestly, when I was back at Cairns, 23, 24, get back in that. And when that parliament religions came up, that was a big thing. Then I have a few years, they used to have different countries. And Chicago, I was like, I'm going to go to this parliament of religions, hopefully maybe connect with some people from the Jain Center like that, and then also get into that. And MQ, what's funny is MQ, that interview she did the other day, that person she interviewed, when I said hi to you, she was at that parliament. I talked to them, but I was so busy when I volunteer like that. She's one of the people when I wanted to do this program as far as that goes. But I went to the parliament. I volunteered there. Parliament religions is basically the first time it was done was like in the late 1800s. It's actually what brought yoga and Hinduism to the United States. Battle things one of the main yoga people, but they did a big thing. It's all about parliaments, about interfaith, bringing everything together, all religions. The concept is at the base of every religion philosophy is basically do unto others, others do unto you, is love and compassion. And the idea is things from environment, social justice, and all those things is basically like, hey, we can be Muslim like that, but these important things we all need to come together, for world peace. Now what am I thinking? Global warming. What's the word I'm looking for? Like climate change.
Yeah.
Racism, things like that. As far as that, like this isn't a Christian issue. This isn't a Jewish issue. This isn't a Jain issue. This is a world issue. So, and the concept of us is like for me, like religion is kind of like you have your immediate family, then you have your uncles and your cousins. That's kind of how I see like Christianity, Judaism, like Jainism. I like it because it fits how my religious way I follow my life, my lifestyle, and as far as that goes. But I view Judaism, Christianity like that, basically like my uncles and my cousins, which I love as much as that. I don't. There's no competition. There's no there. It's kind of like when you go to your aunt's house. It's not that your mom's better than your aunt. You're just a different family, and you love them just the same as far as that go. So
yeah.
All right, see MQ. Yeah, I'm going way too long here. So basically, yeah, when I went to the parliament, that was that, and that's where I didn't get a chance to meet the Jains from the Jain Center. And the person, that's the other thing why I left Chicago. I left Chicago before Facebook and I didn't have a phone. So when I left, I didn't have connections. It wasn't like this entertainment. So that's the other thing. It wasn't like when I left Chicago, like you just left everything. It wasn't like this is well, Facebook might have been around, but from that. So everyone I knew, I didn't really have attachments to. And then the person I was close to has passed away. So yeah. And then when I was at the parliament, I met a lot of cool people like that. And the big thing was which they've gone back to India, but the Samanis, which is the nuns, as far as that, there was different, not even the second like that. They're there at the parliament, like two of them, and they were talking about, like that. And I was like, hey, I really want to get back to Jainism. Like I kind of had to push myself in. Yeah, I've been sober. I mean, I think I drank last Halloween as far as that, but I mean, since before COVID. I mean, when I got my last DUI, I had to have an ankle thing on me. I straight up couldn't drink for a year as far as that goes. So yeah, and by the time I got my conviction and went to like wherever the sober thing was type person, she's like, yeah, she's like, I've already done like therapy and stuff like that. She's like, yeah, she's like, you're pretty much good to go. Like, as far as like, she's like, you already went through everything. Because that was a weird thing. I didn't really get my DUI conviction until a year afterwards, because basically everything went on lockdown. And they weren't doing any court things as far as that goes. So like, it's technically been like 6 years. No, it's 5 years, 2019 as far as that goes. So
Basically, as
yeah.
long as I've been vegan.
Yeah. Well, yeah, probably, yeah. As far as that goes, so yeah. Now alcohol. My thing with alcohol is it's really a fermentation I avoid more now. As far as that, I'm not saying I never say I'll never drink again, because if I say that, I'll be obsessed with drinking. I have a lot of friends that are dry drunks as far as that goes. It's just not something that's useful to me. Same thing with like marijuana. I don't have an issue with weed. I might smoke, on occasion as far as that. It's just, but none of that's like, meditation stuff as far as that goes. My thing with alcohol though, I think we're talking about addictions is I think a lot of people talk about not drinking alcohol, but the alcohol is a problem, but the alcohol is covering up the other problems. Big
Mhm.
thing is I think so many people give up the alcohol, but they never think about why they were drinking. Like the bigger thing for me wasn't just, I mean, the first few, I didn't drink for a couple of years, but it wasn't probably around I got to the parliament is where I really started hitting back to my spirituality, getting to the meditation, really, that's where I hit the backpacking and stuff like that, and that's where the nuns I met there from Florida, as far as that. And I was like, no, I've studied Jainism like that. Because anytime you talk to any about Jainism, you're a white person, like, you don't know nothing about that. And they think is because, I mean, let's be honest, we steal Buddhism and everything from other countries. We whitewash everything. We use it type thing as far as that. So, but when I realized I was serious as far as that goes, and that's why I get up at 4, I do online Zoom meditation, because the Jain nuns, there's only 6 of them in the country right now as far as that. Most, because like that, they'll choose like 6 that can fly over, just because there's so many Jains from India here as far as that. And on my channel, actually, as I get it going, I did an interview with one of the nuns as far as that goes, to kind of like that. And that's the thing I want people to learn about, actually. And from the parliament, I have a lot of friends as far as that I want to connect with, do interviews with, from different like faiths and stuff like that, and talk about their faith through compassion and stuff like that as far as that goes. So, but yeah, but at the parliament, when I got that was a few years ago. That's really kind of where I'm almost starting from, like when I was 23, 24, as far as that goes. Like, that's why I don't really like to say, oh, I have a long journey. I really think my journey is beginning. Like 45 is not old. When I look at, even we'll look at the whole food plant base, how many people look at Boomer Beyond. Also, I look at like a lot of the nuns, stuff like that. Like, I mean, I realize it's spouted off a lot of crap, but a lot of people have been through so much more than I have. They have so much more interesting things, and I'm excited to see what happens. Like I said, and that's kind of where I went to. That's the other reason I kind of went Lee, because it's easier to pronounce for things. But the thing I like about going by Lee is when I was Rhino. I like wine a lot. Rhino the wino. Now I'm Lee the T. As far as that.
Yeah.
So the
So
Lee is also kind of a different. Getting back
I
to
like that.
Lee, I figure is kind of, I feel like it's the name of my true soul as far as that.
Yeah.
Like Jane, and the reason I went Jain's for Jainism, and a lot of Jains will have last name Jain as far as that goes, and as far as that. So yeah.
And I know that you've talked about like your vision in the future. Also, just 2 other things I'd like to cover before we go is, can you tell them the reason behind the name? Because someone asked earlier, I think
Yes.
before she left, the DayaLof.
I went around a lot of different names. I had some people I was going to do Sanskrit word for praise and compassion. And I was going to do prakrit. I can't say that as far as that goes for praise and compassion. I had some people, white people, saying, well, you shouldn't use the Sanskrit word. That's part of India. The nuns were like, no, use the Sanskrit word, because that's actually people that study it, and you're studying that. So that should, like, that's just like, honestly, even if you're from India and you don't practice religion, it's more of a disgrace where, yeah, you're white, but you practice it as far as that goes. But then I was going to use the prakrit word, because a lot of Jain scriptures were in that. And I was trying to figure out what I want to use for that. And I was reading the scriptures. The reason they use that language is it was a simple language for everyone to understand. And that's where it kind of clicked with me. I was like, I need to use a word that's easy to pronounce, but I also didn't want it to be just an English word. I wanted anything from each country. Like, I didn't want it to be Okay, this is from India, this is from Germany, like that. So I was like, okay, what's the simplest word for compassion and what's the simplest word for praise? So I literally just looked up, and the simplest word I found for compassion was daya, which is Sanskrit, which is another word for Sanskrit, because every other word for that. And then lof, L-O-F, that's an old English word. Like that's not used. There is used in one part of Africa, Southern Africa, which means praising. That they took on the word from being colonized as far as that. So lof means praise, and it's an old English term, like I don't know if it comes Nordic or whatever as far as that goes. But that was a simple word LOF, because every other word for praising was like praising had many syllables. I didn't want to have an S or an R in it because every different countries, those are words are hard to that. So the simplest word for compassion was daya, and the smallest word I found for praise was lof. And then I was like, you know what? If I just combine it, then I don't have to worry about that. And I was like, DayaLof, and I'll say that this is now my word, not my personal word, praise and compassion as far as that goes. And then I don't have to worry about pronouncing it right, because however you pronounce it, because I grew up with the speech impediment, and I think a lot of people hate. So honestly, if you say DayaLof or DayaLof, it's however you pronounce it as far as that goes. But that's where the word DayaLof, but it means praise and compassion. And I chose it because I didn't want to do compassion because I'm not compassionate. I'm on my own journey. So my whole thing was, because I was going to do healthier vegan, do this whole thing. I'm going to be healthy, lose weight. I'm like, you know what? I'm more worried about that. And really, my vision for it is like, I'm talking a lot about myself, but it's really about uplifting other people and showing that, and an opportunity for me to grow. Like my social media, two things I want to do with it is is just show how people connect, show people different things like that. Um, uh, just make connections so far that. And my other vision is I kind of want to really work with marginalized and under people, um,
Like underprivileged type.
underprivileged. Yes, yeah. I know it's later there, but once it's 3 o'clock, I get up at like 3:30, so this is my
I
time,
know
like
it's getting
that. And
late.
what?
Mom's gonna be about
Yeah, and I'm
by
gonna
the time I cook dinner.
yeah, and I want to teach whole food plant based cooking to them, but for like that, like people that are going to food banks and stuff, like as far as that goes. So I want to make connections as far as that. I'm thinking about maybe doing. I'm right now doing the nutrition certification through the T Campbell. As far as that, I'm not looking to be a nutrition coach, and me and Diana's doing that too. We're gonna work together. So maybe we'll discuss that on Heart and Harmony. And then I might do the Food for Life, which I'm really thinking about like that. And they're actually next year are wanting to do a thing, a thing that is just people teaching for underprivileged, marginalized companies, people in food deserts and stuff like that. And what I'd like to do is be able, because I'm single, it's just me and Mookie here, and travel around and like go to each town and like that. But I'd also like to combine whole food plant based. I don't consider myself I think that's a healthy way to eat, but I got enough of my, like, I don't define myself. I define myself by what I don't eat, which is food that does harm. As far as that, I don't really define myself as like raw or whole food plant based like that. That's just the way I eat. That's not who I am. Who I am is, my soul and stuff like that, and compassion and stuff like that. But my goal would be in a year or so is to travel around and work with that, and then maybe with my social media make connections. I love to be at a point that I go to schools, teach the whole food plant based healthy cooking for the kids, work under that, and also work with churches and temples and stuff like that. So, but yeah, the dialogue, yeah, it's basically praise and compassion. I want to do things from have people on their chat. I really want to do is travel around. Like there's a pig sanctuary here, maybe do like little videos with them. There's Garage of Blessings, and that's why it's like, yes, veganism's a part of it, because veganism is compassion, but it's also about all compassion, anybody helping, the homeless, anybody like coming in. I mean, we got all this Haitians, unfortunate stuff going on, with the stupid stuff they're doing with Trump putting out type. That's one thing. It's like, oh, should I do politics on my DayaLof page? It's about compassion, but to me, that's not about Democrat or Republicans. It's about, homophobic, racist versus, people that don't agree with that. I do believe there is the us and them. Us are the ones that believe in compassion, love, and respect for everybody, no matter what, their background is as far as that, and them, to me, MAGA. Yeah, MAGA. Sometimes I get MAGA and manga confused. Manga is the awesome Japanese comics, which I'm all about. MAGA is the stupid Trump people. MAGA people, yeah, don't, to me, do not represent, compassion at all. So I have no problem. But on that page, I'm not putting anti-Trump stuff, but I will put pro-Kamala stuff. Now, on my personal page, which I say, the reason I said praise and compassion is I have a long way to go.
I
So
think
I'm praising those people. I also didn't want to put myself on a pedestal. So yeah, so
he
that.
said that he defines himself by what he doesn't eat.
What's that?
She wanted to repeat what you said. How do you define yourself instead of what you do eat? He defines himself by what he doesn't eat. I believe he said, like, as far as like, I don't eat animals and,
Oh, because I eat out of compassion and stuff. But like with the whole food, because I'll eat Gardena burgers, I'll eat Beyond Burger and stuff like that. Like a lot of people, like they're just focused on I'm raw, I'm whole food plant based. To me, the important thing is eating food for compassion type thing as far as that. But I do think whole food plant based is the healthiest type thing, but I don't think that
we
makes you
consider
any better.
compassionate for ourselves.
Yeah, there is compassion for yourself, but sometimes I think there is a lot of there's a lot of classism, honestly, in veganism, especially nowadays, as far as that. It's especially like to eat healthy and stuff. It's a privilege for a lot of people as far as that goes, and I kind of think terms like junk food vegan is kind of putting people down. I think it's another way we get troubleized as far as that. That's why it's like I'm part of the whole food plant-based community, but I don't ever say I'm whole food plant-based. Like, no, I'm a Jain. I'm a compassionate person, as far as that. I do try to eat whole food plant-based, but that's,
out of the north.
if I'm 400 pounds, I'm still a good person. If I'm 160 pounds, I can run a marathon. I'm still a good person. That's why I'm saying that. What defies me is the reason is what I meant. What I don't eat, as far as that goes, what it is. So yeah, so before I get into the questions, so yeah, we're gonna put up things. So I'm really just starting my social media up. I'd like to have people on there. I am gonna try to do. We're doing a Heart and Harmony. We're gonna have discussions there, but Heart and Harmony, I kind of be more of a fun thing. Also, talk about entertainment stuff like that. Maybe try different vegan foods. We can have we had a really good discussion like that, and then I'm kind of wanting to do maybe a thing called Tea with Lee, and that I kind of want to maybe start going back and reading some of the Gandhi philosophy books, kind of backtrack on that. So that's the other thing I want to specify. I don't really want to be a voice for anybody. To me, it's important is to uplift other voices. Like right now, I'm talking about myself and stuff like that because I think I need to get people, I guess, to know me and trust me. But the whole point of DayaLof is it's not even my journey. It's showing other people, it's giving other people voices in as far as that goes, because there's so many people. I mean, I've been blessed meeting so many awesome people through my journeys and stuff that do way more compassionate things, cool things like that. Like I like to have seen in as far as that goes. So, and I'm also thinking about doing, when I do nature walks and stuff like that, doing recordings. You've kind of seen like that along with that. So, but DayaLof is, when I was at the Parliament, one thing that kind of occurred to me is it's not my place to really be a leader or anything like that. My place is this new generation coming in of compassion, and a lot of the older, wiser generation compassion is just giving a platform to other people to use their voices type thing, as far as that. So, and that's why DayaLof, like I said, I wanted it not to be like, is that a Hindi word? Is that an American word? Is that an African? Or is that Latin? I like the fact that what the hell is that? That's because that's what it's supposed to be. Because I wanted
I like the way that you're trying to incorporate all cultures and all religions to it.
We did get a Mookie.
There's Mookie. Mookie's like, all right, let's go feed me or whatever. We're all hungry, Mookie.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and let you go. I mean,
see him though. He's in the darkness kind of, but I can see the image of him. Oh, we have him on the thumbnail. That's right. So
yeah. Well, it got darker as we talked.
Yeah, I know, right? It did get darker. It was daylight when it was DayaLof. No. He said a word of what he does. So does this mean no animal or does he not? I would assume it means he's vegan, but I don't know. No, I don't know. Thank you.
Oh no, I'm vegan, but I honestly just don't think vegans as strict, but I'm more social justice vegan also. as far as that. No, I'm definitely vegan. Yes, yes, absolutely vegan. But a lot of times, especially in the West Coast, there's a it almost becomes tribal as far as that goes. So yeah, like I'm not vegan to be a part of the vegan group. I'm vegan for the compassion aspect of it as far as that goes. So like, so yeah, yes, I'm vegan. Basically, I am vegan, but I don't like to be defined just by vegan. Like I'm not vegan, to be part of the vegan group. I'm vegan because I don't want to cause any harm. Like as far what to me, what vegan's supposed to be as far as that goes. So, for example, like here's the thing example I would say like one thing I have issue with like Trump talk about Haitians eating like dogs and stuff. Now we got everything all the vegans talking about. Well, they're talking about everyone's about eating dogs and cats, but what about other animals? Well, that's a good point. But right now the issue is they're being racist towards people from Haiti. There's people that are being abused now as far as that. So even though I am all about the animals, but I also a lot of times I don't only care about animals. I also care about all living creatures as far as that. And sometimes vegan, you got two, I think groups. You got vegans only for the health, like they don't worry about that. Then you also got it's called vegan for the animals, which are great, but they get a little too obsessed that it's almost like because they love animals, they think they can be hateful to other people. As far as that, it's almost like, hey, I care about animals, so I can be racist and stuff like that. So to me, like veganism is a chunk of who I am, but to me, it's not doesn't encompass enough compassion as far as that goes.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for explaining that. That is really cool. I think everyone should
Yeah.
go straight to the description and go give a like if you want to see more of Mookie, especially, right? Oh, there he is.
Say hi,
Hi,
buddy.
Mookie. He is so cute. His eyes are really, we can't see it on here, but I have some of the pictures. His eyes are so
Oh,
cool.
there we go. Oh no, that made it way
There
too.
he
Oh,
is.
there you go.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we can see now. Hi, Mookie. Mookie. Now he's not going to look at the camera, right? Just
Oops.
because he's shy. I talked about his eyes. He is beautiful, truly. Well, thank you so much, Boomer and Beyond, Angela, for joining. And thank you to everyone who came, Susanna. And oh, we like your Sanskrit name. That's beautiful too. Leela Ananda. I like that. Yeah, and
Oh,
everyone was really encouraging on here. Marakita, Tessa stopped in, Apple a Day, and we had someone, God, let me see here. I lost the
yeah,
name.
I talked a lot. I apologize. Like as far as honestly, I probably could have gone longer. I'm probably not nearly as interesting as far as that goes. So
Yeah.
hopefully, I kind of wish I would have done the other stuff so people would listen to the beginning and then know about my like social
Yeah,
media.
I
So
think I loved it though. You really encompassed everything. We really did what we intended to do, which was getting to know you and hearing your journey. And I love that you talked through it and explained where you are now, based on everybody has that story. Like you said, and I agree. Angela said, "Why is any of it wrong? It all lands on the side of animals. There's so much division in the vegan community, and that's very sad. I love that we all can come together and support each other. And thanks, Ryan, for trying to bring that
yeah, and
element to
that's
it too.
another big thing I do want to bring on as far as the veganism on dialogue. I want to bring in. There's a lot more movement in the non-white community, and there's a lot of division. Like there's a lot of like, as far as like for example, like brown and queer vegans, awesome as far as that goes. There's a lot of like like that, and that's the other thing. When it comes to veganism on the dialogue, I definitely gonna have the regular, but I definitely want to try to really reach out and have a lot more culture, and because it's very dominated by the white voice as far as that. So I want to see
Absolutely.
that changed.
Yes. Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for
All right,
being
cool.
here. Is there anything else you want to say? Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Marakita, Vegan Empowerment, and Harmonic Earth Healers, Boomer and Beyond Wellness. Go check out their channels too. And everyone has just been so awesome here. Wait a minute. oh, yeah, I did say Suzanne. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh no, just maybe mention we're gonna do that Heart and Harmony at 1 o'clock on Monday. It's a lot more. Yeah, it's not me just talk. I talk too much on there, but it's not just watching me talk about myself. So definitely, if you all want to hop on, that'd be awesome.
Yes, and as a final, I want to make sure I get her comment in. I'm overjoyed at the increase in the number of vegans, but there is much political and patriarchal. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so true. Yeah, and
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't until I left Chicago I did not realize
yeah, it's a
that.
lot to take. And I
Here they were
almost
Christianity. I didn't
when
until I
I
went to that
first.
Christian college. I didn't make
Yeah.
that connection either. So yeah,
It's like when you
yeah.
first went vegan, you just almost wish you were back in that simplified little happy state before you learned all the stuff really that goes.
Yeah, I do. And honestly, I'm kind of going back to. I guess I'm 45, going back to 25. Like, I think there was I had a lot of wisdom, so that's kind of me going back to that. So, all right, well, I'm gonna let everyone go. So, I hope everyone has a good night. Thanks for popping in.
Thank you so much, Lee. We enjoyed this, and you have a great evening. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for sharing your amazing plants-formation with all of us and everyone. Have a good evening. I'll see you soon.
All right, see ya. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Roxy. I appreciate you.